What's up, everyone? Welcome to the 20 Podcast. I'm your host, DJ Spider. Thank you. That's right. We are coming to you from Beverly Hills, California. We are at the Beatsource offices. Feeling good. Feels good to be back. Our show is brought to you by Beatsource, the music streaming service for DJs that play everything. And you probably fall into that category. I know I do. Beatsource has got all the music you could need for any and every gig. We've got expertly curated playlists, songs that no other record pool have, custom edits, and so much more. Visit beatsource.com for a free 30-day trial or use our code THE20 to bump it up to a 60-day free trial, and then you can really test it out and see what you think. Let me know. Send me a message on Instagram. I'm on there at DJ Spider, DJ SPIDER. Let me know what you think of Beatsource, of the podcast, future guests, anything you want to tell me. Just tell me, your hair looks bad that day. You can tell me your problems. I'm here for you. I'm here for you guys. Talk to me. Also, please do me a favor. Make sure you rate and review this podcast. Not many of you do that. When I ask you, what are you doing? Come on, right now. You're listening. Just pop in there. Give me a little ding, 5-star. Do a little review on Apple Podcasts. Help us go up the charts. We really appreciate it. Also, we are on all platforms. So if you're listening or you're watching, you could hear us on Spotify, on YouTube, on Google, on Apple, whatever you want. Go peep us out. And now I got to tell you about our guest of the day. We have got someone who can go very deep into virtually any genre of music. She seems like, if you task her with doing a deep dive into a genre of music, you are going to get more than you ever could have asked for, in a good way. I guarantee you will learn something new every time you talk to her, every time you listen to her DJ. She's incredible and knows so much. She's one of the top DJs for high-end special events and can be found DJing parties after every award show, movie premiere, all the coolest, most amazing things in LA, New York, and around the world, honestly. Some of the many companies she works for, just as an example, this doesn't even do it justice, look her up, but HBO, Netflix, Disney, CFDA, LACMA, Louboutin, Vanity Fair, Dolce & Gabbana, the list goes on. She is an award-winning music producer as well, a curator, music director, which we talk about in this episode, and a DJ, first and foremost. She's performed alongside so many people. I'll list off a few. Lou Reed, Prince, Lady Gaga, Stevie Wonder, Fleetwood Mac, Common, Florence and the Machine. The list goes on, and the people are legendary. In addition, she has scored for the Emmy award-winning PBS show Variety's Actors on Actors. She also remixed Migos for the Golden State Warriors 2018-19 opening music. She has music directed L's Women in Hollywood for 10 consecutive years. And she's produced a celebrated series of version edits, which are her edits, what she calls her version of edits, featuring David Bowie and Bjork. I mean, her music taste is impeccable. It's unbelievable. She's a Toronto native. She's a mother of 2, so we're both in the parent DJ life. And she allocates a large portion of her time to philanthropic and social justice causes, which we talk about here as well, and they're incredible. She has, dedicated her work, done stuff with Art of Elysium, Alliance of Moms, the XX Funds, Artivists, Into Action, and FIA, so much more. She's truly an inspirational and talented person who could double as a music encyclopedia. So please give it up for Daisy Odell. We are here with the illustrious Daisy Odell. Make some noise. Just imagine the applause going right now. The crowd's going. We're putting it in post, so. Okay, all right. Air horns blaring.
I feel the energy.
You feel it?
Right now.
Feel it? Here we go.
It's hyping me up.
Building
it's
up.
Amping me up. It's getting me excited.
Okay, good. See, we're on the same level. Welcome to the show. Really happy to have you here. Really happy to be in person. We were supposed to be together earlier this month, and finally got hit with COVID and we had to put this off, but I'm back. I'm healthy and happy you're here. So
yeah, no, I'm glad to be here. I'm very flattered to be asked, and I'm always excited to talk about, my career, and I'm excited to talk about music, which is my favorite subject.
Yes.
And I'm excited to talk to you, who I've known forever.
That's right.
Yeah,
exactly.
so
So we've
good.
got many connections, a lot of mutual friends. We go way back. And like you said, you're excited to talk about music, and you are one of the most knowledgeable music-loving people I think I know, even though I know a lot of DJs. You are very knowledgeable in that space. Like to let everybody know, well, first of all, you do now, as you have for a while, but now you do so many amazing events, from, the movie premieres and award show after parties to just private events for the most powerful, rich, amazing human beings, and so many cool things and so many meaningful things and all these initiatives you're part of. So we're going to get into all of that stuff. But we met, I don't know, I want to say like 15 years ago or something. And correct me if I'm wrong, but I think it was at the Standard Hotel in what was the Purple Lounge.
I remember the night we met.
Yeah.
I actually considered it before I came in today because, in sort of wanting to frame this conversation, I was like, I wonder where our relationship started. And I remember the night we met, and not only that, but I remember what sort of solidified our friendship. And that was that I was booking at the Standard, which I don't know if you remember, we used to call it DJ finishing school, because every DJ who was working in Los Angeles, at the beginning of their career, or, people who were sort of passing through would do gigs there, residencies there, because it was this, we had this, just really dense schedule we had to fill. And so we just had everyone in there all the time. And I remember the first night you came in, you were extraordinarily talented, like your, ability to mix and, obviously your kind of selection was impeccable right from go. And I was like, this guy's great. But I remember the song that got me, and it was, I believe it was a Hot Chip song. No, Simian Mumble Disco, I believe. You played Simian Mumble Disco, I believe. You were playing a hip hop set. So like it's, mid 90s, right? I think that song's like 98 BPM. And you played that song.
It was probably I Believe.
You believe. Yeah.
Yes.
And I remember you playing it. And I we had a lot of sort of hip hop and pop and, club DJs in the Purple Lounge.
Right.
And it was very unique and special to me that someone was integrating music sort of outside of that, sort of the limitations of what you would sort of consider pop, or like really accessible music, someone who would kind of go left of center. And I was smitten. I was like, oh my gosh. And then I think I hired you all the time after that because it was so exciting.
That's so cool to hear. That's amazing. Well, that's what you go for as a DJ. Like I remember coming in there and that time in my life of I wanted to mix everything together, and I loved hip hop, and I came from being a hip hop and probably drum and bass and kind of like, dance style DJ, but hearing songs like that, that song still has a soulfulness and funkiness, even though I don't even know what the genre would be considered, but it mixed in, and that was what I was. Electropop. Okay. You're all the genres.
I say that like it's a definitive answer. There's the thing about music and the thing about genres is it's incredibly incestuous and impossible to define usually. So But you're good at classifying the stuff. I mean, I was going through some of your playlists that you did for this project that we'll discuss later, Dig, that you have not put out yet, but hopefully one day all of you out there get to see it. But just the companion playlists that you had made with it were really cool, and it was cool for me to learn, this falls in that genre. I know it's not completely definitive, but it was cool just to see you, put it in there. So yeah, to play an electro pop song with it and all that. And I remember, it was probably my first time there, and we started like a Monday night, like Mad Mondays, and it was Blue Gems, rest in peace, and Valita, who still, doing amazing things, and was that it? I think it was DJ Hoff, maybe, or no? Maybe Hoff was around. I feel like we're talking about, a decade and a half ago.
I know.
And also a very sort of hedonistic time in most of our lives as we were out in the world and living richly. So
Yes.
I don't remember who played what night, but I remember Questlove did a residency that we really had like a sort of wealth of talent, various
right
stages in their career coming and gracing us with their presence. I mean,
right. And you were booking people. I mean, I was connected to so many amazing people, also had great taste. So the DJs you had in there were amazing. And I remember too that night, I don't remember when we had this conversation, but talking to you later, and this was the beginning of Serato. We're playing on, I want to say there was like an Allen and Heath mixer there.
There was an Allen and Heath rotary.
And I remember
it was a rotary mixer. And the reason we had it is because my the person who I inherited the job from was Diallo Riddle. Have you had him on?
Diallo's my dude. No, he needs to come on. I was talking to him yesterday and the day before because they're trying to do the rap party for his show, Sherman's Showcase tonight, and I was trying to link him up to say do it here at the Friend, or something with Mike B. So I don't know what happened, but he's the best. I love him so much, and I want to have him on.
Him and his wonderful wife are very good friends, and I love them both deeply. And so, but yeah, he was responsible for that rotary mixer, which is ironic now because we were just talking about sort of analog. I was saying that I was hired to do a Vegas residency, all vinyl.
Yeah.
And, the sort of the rotary mixer, like the history of the rotary mixer.
Right.
It is making this big comeback. And I played in Mexico City in late December, and I showed up to the venue, and it was all vinyl with a rotary mixer. And James Murphy's place at Night Moves in New York, where I play when I'm in New York, also all vinyl rotary mixer, which I don't know if you understand sort of the mechanics of that. Right. But you have your you have two hands. Yeah. So you have your record, you're sort of cueing it, and then you have to, you have to basically match and then bring in and out simultaneously, as opposed to when you have what is it, a slider? Is that what
the crossfader?
Crossfader. Yeah, where you could kind of do that mechanism like with one hand. It is
basically just big volume faders.
It is uniquely challenging.
Yes,
because you can't do the record and the rotary, and and I'm getting better at it, and I've learned some techniques from people because the first night I played on it, I was mortified because I was like, oh my god, this really is humbling.
It goes better with mixes, types of music that have long mixes, or
if you're not trying to beat match, if the precision thing is where it's challenging. If you're mixing records and you're just playing, cool records into each other, rotary mix all you want. But if you're actually trying to beat match any genre, you have to have the capability to sort of adjust the music as needed,
right?
With vinyl, and so you're sort of doing one hand and doing this and bring the other one in. It's really, I don't know, it's interesting.
Yeah, I mean, I've gotten in arguments with DJs. I don't prefer it, but I understand people do, and sonically, most of the time, they have the best sound, I guess.
It's in vogue. I mean, I talked to James about his setup, and he really has limited DJs. Like he doesn't have the capacity for you to play digital music. You cannot play digital music at his venue. There's no way to plug in it. Like you can't. He's not giving you a CDJ. You're playing vinyl. Yeah. You're not playing Serato. There's no Serato plugin. There's just his rotary mixer and his turntables.
Right.
And, I think that's really, respectable to sort of create those parameters and, make the venue that you want. But there are people, and we talk about our, preferred formats, right?
Yeah.
Like you and I have the same preferred format. We like the S9. We like or you maybe are on the 11.
I like the S11, but S9, but, either one.
S9 or 11.
Give me one or the other.
And CDJs, usually, unless we're doing, which again.
I've seen you make you're from the vinyl days. Like you said, you have a vinyl residency in Vegas now. But I have seen you make the switch to CDJs recently.
Yeah, I did. I don't know what I did. I think it was, I was touring in Europe, and, everything is CDJs in Europe. And I think I just sort of made that move. And then when I did, and I realized like how much fun I could have with music in terms of like looping and just doing different sort of, effects. There were things that I felt like I was liberated to play more, like, sort of have more fun within my sets. And so I did that. And also I was never, turntablism, I would never define myself as a turntablist.
Right.
You know what I mean? I'm technically proficient.
Yeah.
But I think there's people that are, extraordinary and need turntables and use them as an instrument. I never use them as an instrument. I use them to mix my records. Yeah. But I was never, I'm not Shorty, who's,
Oh, she's
analyze
incredible. Yeah, they're amazing.
Yeah.
I know what you mean. I mean, but there's still an element of being comfortable, especially someone that has a big vinyl collection and plays on there. But same, I've gotten comfortable with CDJs, and I like both. You know, it depends where I am. But and the whole HID mode thing is nice.
I do HID mode.
And like I don't have to deal with plugging in everything in. I'm just like, boom, my cue points are on there, and once you get used to the 3000s too, it's pretty nice. Like you have all 8 cue points on the thing. There's something about dropping it on the one, which is like easier. I don't know why, with the platter of the 3000, which is the most simple thing.
You're really encouraging me to be more open-minded about this. But I will say, I'm not
we
the
have
only.
Them here. You can practice.
I'm not the only DJ who's resistant.
No, I know.
It's a change, and I feel like all changes. You know, we have a colleague who took a long time to move to Serato DJ.
Yes, I know who you're talking about.
I know you know who
she
I'm
was
talking
a
about.
guest on this show.
It took a long time because there's this reluctance. Right, to try something new if what you have works for you. But with technology, when you're talking about technology, you're oftentimes you're forced into it because things are constantly evolving.
Right.
And
I mean, the pandemic was the perfect example of everybody getting on Twitch and doing live streams and creating, the project you did that we'll talk about and all that kind of stuff.
Teasing it like it's a big thing. You're gonna make
we'll get into it because I know there's a lot to talk about with it. So I feel like let's wait. We'll get there in a little bit. But it was very interesting, and you guys, I think, would enjoy it. The Kraftwerk one, I sent the link of the playlist to my friend because he's a huge Kraftwerk fan. I was like, you got to check this out.
That I will say, just to offer some clarity for people who are like, what is he talking about? I did a playlist on Spotify of every song that is available on Spotify, and this includes every single one, and I'd like to challenge anyone to find one that I missed because I would actually love to include literally everyone. Every single song that had a Kraftwerk sample.
That was
available on Spotify.
I was surprised. I was going through like, what? I haven't even got through the whole playlist, but I was like, damn, I didn't know that.
It's comprehensive.
You had obscure, like Dudley Perkins and underground hip hop and all kinds of stuff on there.
I did my due diligence.
Yeah.
I mean, I would never classify myself as a music authority. I'm a music obsessive. Like I get obsessed with understanding sort of history and context and, and particularly in the world of sampling, like it is just interesting and sort of so much seeded from Kraftwerk. They're such an, essential band as far as like the history of music is concerned and all of the things that kind of spun out from their, creativity and originality and also sort of the birth of the synthesizer is, this like modern pop tool. So.
Totally. No, I mean, and I agree, and we'll get to that in a bit. But what I didn't get to fully say was when I did meet you at the Standard, the beginning of Serato, I remember meeting you as well and playing that night, and also we were in that transitional time, and you were telling me how you did the bookings there. You also, I think, did the playlists or the music for the hotel or other hotels, and you had like a 4 terabyte drive or some at the time seemed like an insane huge hard drive filled with all this music, on MP3, which at the time it was hard. I was recording my vinyl in one by one to get it in. And you're like, I have all this. And you were so knowledgeable about music. It was crazy. Like you knew everything in every genre and so many artists. And I just remember talking to you that night and I was like, wow, who is this person? This is nuts. So, it's cool that we've gone from that to what's happening now. And I think that, like you said, being a music obsessive, who's really an authority? And that's kind of what I say to people. Even I was helping someone negotiate like the money for a gig, like a younger DJ that, she was like, I don't know what to say. They're asking me my rate. And so like, I was like, here's something you can take and like remix, but here's the wording. But I was like, just remember, nobody knows anything. No one's a full-on authority. Like, they may say they are, but you know just as much as this person. Just be confident, write this back, and just go for it because, you may feel intimidated now. So I think I'm constantly learning from my gigs. I mean, this gig I did Sunday in Vegas, I've played in Vegas 5 million times. Everyone's like, you got this, you'll be fine. But I went crazy and obsessed over the music beforehand. I wanted to get all the right big room songs, and a lot of that stuff is cheesy to me, and I wanted to have stuff that was not cheesy to me and still was cool and funky, even though it matched the room I was in. And some of my friends are like, you're crazy, but I'm like, and it paid off. I had a great gig. And I think that a lot of the gigs we do, it pays off to be music obsessive. So I think that's why you are where you are today, you know, and why people call on you for those gigs. I mean, like, I want to go through a lot of the cool things you do, but just the movie gigs you do, Cinespia. How do you say it?
Cinespia.
Cinespia. That's what I thought. I was
yeah,
like,
that's what. Have you done a Cinespia?
No,
it's one of my favorite places to play, and you know the residents.
So cool.
Like if you look at how sort of illustrious the residents are, it's Questlove does it all the time, and Chemist does it all the time, and you know they hire, they keep their pool small.
Right.
Because those of us that get Miles Hendrick on a Cauldron, those of us that get the opportunity to do it love it so much because it really is a unique space as far as a DJ goes where, you know, your set is informed by a film. So, you know, you have sort of all these different lenses with which to view your music. Like you can say, okay, it's, you know, I'm doing Goonies or whatever. So then you're looking at the year, you're looking at the, you know, are we going to do stuff about friendship, about childhood, about like pirates, about, you know, you can kind of, you can really sort of, you know, explore that side of yourself, which, you know, so often in jobs, like I'm doing my first big room post Omicron next Friday. I'm doing Valhalla.
Oh, cool.
Which is, I mean, it's not huge. It's like a 2,000 person dance floor, but it is a dance floor.
Where is it? In New York?
No, it's like a WeHo. It's like a queer, like real, like you go there and it's just 2,000 like naked men writhing around.
Sounds fun.
But it's very colorful. Like they have, you know, the dancers and the whole thing, but the dancers are, and they, you know, they have people who sort of MC and they are tough. Like you have to show up and bring it, and you know, and so I'm like, okay, it's my first big room set headlining post Omicron, and like you, I'm gonna have to go and do all the research because I'm like, what is you know, give me the like 120 BPM Megan, you know, remix, Meg the Stallion remixes. I need all this stuff, but the thing about playing a gig like Cinespia is you're not confined to a dance floor, right? So like when you DJ, right? Even when I do, I get hired. Like you do, you and I actually check a lot of the same boxes for events. Yeah. I think there's a very short list of people who are considered for, you know, the types of things that we do in the, you know, sort of top level event space, like the Globes and the Emmys and the Oscars and all that. But for the premieres, I'll often get jobs because I'm doing one for HBO, for instance, in 2 weeks. I think you just did one, but I'm doing one in 2 weeks called Minx, where the show is 70s, so it's period. Yeah. And it's about the first, how do I explain this? The first magazine for women. So like not the first magazine for the first, I'm trying to think of what the actual term is, but like pornographic magazine for women, I think is probably what I'm saying.
Like what everyone would say, Playgirl or something. That was like the go-to
So it's like the Playgirl, it's like the Playgirl show. Pornographic, I'm going to say pornographic. Right. That's the word. So anyway, so they hired me and they said, you know, we want you to open. We want people to come out of the screening and feel like they're being transported to this era. And I was like, no problem. We're just going to pay Betty Davis. She just died. I've got the whole list of, you know, Irma Frank, like all those people. I love that era. It's great. Yeah. We're going to have a lot of fun. And then at some point you transition into a party. So having the ability to do both, I think, is essential. But the nice thing about Cinespia is you don't have to make that transition. You can just live fully in the world that you create. And that's so fun and liberating and just a different way of DJing. People do dance, you will kind of build it and have fun, but you know, I love those 90s
in ones. A way you're scoring, you're live music supervising, you know, the night before the actual movie starts in a way. You
Absolutely
know, like,
you are. I think it's a beautiful way of articulating it.
Yeah, and you're like setting that mood. And that was the drive-in events that I got hired for last year were so much fun, you know, and when I heard people saying like, oh, I can't wait, you know, till I don't have to do this kind of stuff or these suck, I'm like, damn, am I weird? Because these are so much fun to me. Like to be able to, you know, like you said, like one was around, they wanted all 2010s music, you know, or whatever that is. But it was so fun to dig within those years and those genres, or to do the This Is Us one, or to do the, and I don't have to make them dance. I'm just there to entertain, set the mood, do this 1 hour set that's exactly how I envisioned it, and then I can present it to them, and then being able to do, I've done other gigs like that too, where it had to be okay, for a night between 83 to 85, and then I get to research all the music and as we do, like we said, we both do a lot of Sundance Film Festival parties, and
so many.
Those are fun to talk to the director or the producer or the actor or whoever your contact is, and then have them say, this is the kind of movie, this is what we want to, go for, or we don't want any of the stuff from the movie, we just want to party, whatever they say. But I love getting those kind of jobs because I learned so much from it,
Well, I mean, you talk about, music knowledge, right? Like curating a set. Like if somebody gives me, something that if they're like this one song, they're like, here's, the director likes this one song. I'm like, okay. So who are the contemporaries? What label is it on?
Right.
Like I love those opportunities because that really is my favorite way to spend a day, to think about music. And like you, I did so many drive-ins last year.
Yeah.
2021.
2021.
2020, 2021. I don't remember. It's like it's all been a blur. But
I think it was last year.
And,
I don't know.
I actually took them very seriously because I felt like someone's going to be in their car hearing this on the radio.
They're
and obviously I'm mixing.
More.
I'm going to mix live, but I want my mix. I want my precision. I want it thoughtful.
Same.
I want the journey.
I was practicing and in key and like way more than I would for the dancing.
I got a big one. I got one which was David Byrne, American Utopia. And I'm obviously a huge Talking Heads fan and huge fan of his. And so it felt, for me, that was intimidating, but also so inspiring. And I was really, actually, I should share that set. I never shared it. And I made edits of every single song I played.
Oh
I literally went in, like, that's what I do. I make, because I wanted to move in and out quickly and I wanted them to sort of break where I wanted to. And they were all live drums. And I was like, okay, well, I'm going to quantize. I'm just going to quantize and Jazz Netros because you want the live drums. You want it to feel a certain kind of way. And so I was like, I worked so hard for like a week. I was like, this is, and I remember it, like I should share that set. I recorded it.
Yeah, you definitely should.
I recorded it when I was rehearsing it. And then had it like with me in case anything happened. Like I was so nervous. That,
oh my God. Same. I was in the same thing because it was like my only gigs too. And I'm like, I don't want to mess this up. And you don't know who's going to be there. And I want it to be good. And I have nothing else to do. So I'll prepare for a week straight on this.
My first one back was what we do in the shadows. Is it what we do?
I don't know. I think
it's what we do in the shadows. It's goth, right? It's vampires and comedy and amazing.
Right.
So for me, again, I'm the perfect candidate because I'm like,
you are.
Ooh, okay. We're just going to play some, of like my favorite.
I mean, you're so good, at like
Bauhaus.
Yeah,
it's gonna be like awesome.
You're like the perfect package too because you know all the music. You're good at DJing, but you also will dress up. You're very into fashion. Like I think fashion is a massive.
What?
Come on.
Me?
And so you always know like the perfect. Not just outfit, like look for every single, you'll do your makeup and hair and like it always goes with it. I'm jealous. I wish I could do that. But I feel like I'd look like a crazy person if I come in like,
stopping you?
I'm a vampire. I don't know. There's something weird if I do it for some reason.
I feel like it's interesting. We talk a lot about, DJing, right? And I think there's a lot of, there's some stereotypes about certain type of people, certain types of people who get opportunities because of how they look, or people who maybe aren't qualified, and and I don't want to talk about that necessarily because I think it's touchy and I think it will antagonize people. And but I will say that there is, there's this thing about being performative, right? Like where you are on a stage generally.
Right.
Sometimes you're in the corner in the dark.
It's true.
But usually you're, pretty prominently featured.
I mean,
at
those drive-in events, we were literally on a stage in front of a massive movie screen being broadcast onto the movie screen.
Yes.
Vlat's actually, he doesn't have a microphone, guys, you're listening. But Vlat is here with us, and he filmed it. But he came to a couple of my events and ate the food, hung with his wife, and
there was good food. Yeah.
But he saw it. I mean, you're on a big screen, so if you do not like being the center of attention, you better get ready. And you have to be on the mic and announce. I mean, I had to announce where the bathrooms were, okay? So talk about being awkward. You better be prepared to announce where the bathrooms are while still trying to have the self-confidence to feel very cool about what you're doing. Somehow I did it, but
turn on your hazards if you're having to.
Exactly. I'm like, flash your. We're gonna have to stop honking now, but flash your lights if you're feeling good. I literally was shouting out dogs because so many people had dogs in their car. I'm like, put your dogs in the air. Like, I don't, I just had to I don't know, release all self consciousness and doubt and just go, we're all humans here.
Here's the thing. You have a wonderful, big, vivacious, boisterous personality. Part of the reason why you're hosting the show is that you have tons of charisma, you are comfortable on the mic, you're easy to talk to. Someone like me, I am like very nerdy and very quiet and very self-conscious. And part of the reason I got into DJing, but one of the appeals of DJing is I get to be out and I get to be in the center of the action, but I don't actually have to engage with anyone.
Same. That was my
people are
initial.
always like, when I show up at clubs, people are like, "Do you want a mic?" And I'm like, "No."
Yeah, I never wanted a mic. I agree with you.
I need to focus on this.
We like dark and little buttons and nerdy things, and being alone. Yeah,
and that was the first one of those I did. Of all the things, the talking on the mic and being, I know, and I remember Michelle. I went and saw another DJ.
Yeah,
who did the one before me. And the person who booked us, the same person who booked us, called me the next day and said, "You saw the show?" And I said, "I did. I saw the show. It's great. She's great." She said, "Bigger. They want you to be bigger." And I watched it and felt like he was pretty big.
Yeah.
And I was like, "Bigger? Like what? Like what?" She said, "They just want you to talk more. They want you to talk over the whole thing. They just want you to talk and be engaging and fun and maybe do some trivia." And I was like,
oh my God.
Okay.
Oh, I had to do the trivia.
I know. I felt like it was a big ask because you really were, people. I don't think people understand that DJing in and of itself is kind of a lot of work. You have to think about a lot of things simultaneously.
Right.
You're, thinking about your next song. You're bringing about your mixes. You're bringing songs in. You have one in your ear and one in the room, and and you're just kind of like that in and of itself is sufficient as far as a workload, and then to sort of partner that with the expectation that you're hosting the night.
Yeah.
I know that there's DJs who do it, and those DJs are amazing, and and sometimes they're very, very talented, and sometimes they're not really DJing. And both those things are true, and right? But I think that an MC, a really, really strong MC, coupled with a really, really good DJ, I really think those are two distinct jobs. And I'm not saying you can't do both, but I think it's extremely rare for someone to do both well.
Yeah. No, you're thinking like so much. It's so true. And funny enough, Twitch got me ready to talk on the mic at those drive-in things. Like, obviously other things did, when I went on tour with Blink-182 was definitely a big shock to the system of needing to use the mic, because I'd been on the mic before, but not where it's just an arena of people staring at you, basically wondering what to do, and they're like, "I don't know what to do," so I had to make things up. But being on Twitch and being able to just, I guess, be really self-conscious for the first few weeks or first sessions on Twitch and thinking about everybody's, people are making comments about how long my fingers are. And I'm like, I didn't know people were even looking, it's like, it got very crazy. And I was thinking about what I said and what I did, to the point where then I was able to drop it all and go, who cares? I'm alive, whatever. And so when I did that, I almost had that power in my back pocket of I don't even care. I mean, I'm just going to make a joke of this in my head, because how serious can this be? Even if I look completely stupid, what's the worst thing that could happen? I'm not going to die. We're made it through COVID this far, whatever. I'm just going to, So I just went with it. But it was Twitch helped me just go, I'm just going to do the trivia and announce the porta potty or the bathroom or whatever, and just realize I look stupid and also cool at the same time, and I'm doing it. But yeah, so that was... our summer of drive-in things. I just want to say, I really admire, we talked a little earlier before we started recording about the pivots people made over COVID. Yeah.
And I really admire how you pivoted, how, the people who sort of really leaned into the opportunities that were there, like the Twitch opportunities.
Yeah.
And, thrived. Like, you talk about the Bellas, you talk about Angie. Oh my God, look at Angie, right?
Amazing.
Yeah. So I feel like, to me, it was really admirable that people adapted in the way that they did.
Yeah.
Because a lot of us, no, not a lot of us, universally true, all of us lost, our industry was decimated.
Yeah, everyone.
It went from
top to bottom.
It just vanished overnight. So I will say, although it wasn't a path that I took, I found it uncomfortable, personally uncomfortable. I did it a couple times, and I was like, this is not, because I actually felt the sort of emotional, I felt the emotional loss of being in a room. Like, to me, I felt like it acutely. I was like, oh, this is not what I love. What I love is the reciprocal.
Yeah, it's not for everybody.
Back and forth of, I love playing music for people and them responding and us sort of sharing that moment. And to me, it felt almost kind of like the antithesis of that. I felt my isolation more pronounced.
Yeah.
But I will say I really admire the people that went on Twitch, and I'm glad you guys have all done so well, because I think it's great.
Well, the thing that you did, I mean, I have other things I want to talk about, but we might as well talk about it. But I think everybody pivoted into the things they felt comfortable with, you know, and then I was able to work on this podcast more and do Twitch and do other projects and things I wanted to do. But you sent me a private link, you know, like you said, people may never see this, to something called Dig, which essentially was almost a documentary television series that you put together of doing deep dive digs, you know, DJs dig for music into genres of music. But it was visually and, you know, odd. It was like, you know, it was artistic, like the visual part of it. I mean, it's like the website alone looks really cool. The way that you put together the, you know, the video part of it was really cool.
But did you find it informative and
I found it extremely informative and educational.
Or were you too distracted by the cacophony?
No, it was cool. I mean, it was different. I guess
multimedia.
You're used to hearing the narrator and not seeing them, you know, but I thought the way you did it with the pop-up screens was cool. But it was really cool to learn about, you know, no wave music you did. You know, you did the Kraftwerk sample one. You did, what were some of the other ones? Oh, the Japanese city pop.
Japanese city pop.
What is that? So I've never heard of Japanese city pop, but I had just found this song. So have you heard the new Weeknd album?
Yes, of course.
And did you hear, what's the song? Out of Time, maybe?
There's definitely some references to I mean, Japanese city pop is essentially easy listening in Japanese. It's a very specific sort of period.
But I had just heard the song Out of Time, and then that it was a complete sample from this you know what song it is?
Yes.
So does that, it's what is it? I wrote it down, Tomoko Aran, Midnight Pretenders. So look that up.
It's identical.
It's like playlist. They just looped it. I mean, and then The Weeknd sang over it instead of the Japanese.
Well, One Entrix Point Never, I believe, was the person who produced the album. And, you know, as far as I'm concerned, as far as like production and sort of musical acumen, he is top of the game.
The album is crazy.
So good.
But I didn't know if that, I had just heard that song. Then I hear your Japanese city pop breakdown of the type of music and where it comes from. Because I was so surprised that song was from 1982. And I'm like, it sounds current now. And then I didn't know if that fell into the Japanese city pop genre or not, you know, the one that he sampled. But I thought that was so interesting, so I learned a lot about that. And then I saw the other ones you had coming up, and I think I watched like 4 of them. But
I did. They're just it kind of. So I can give you some backstory. So COVID,
heard of it?
Insomnia, insomnia, doom scrolling. I needed to sort of
we were all there.
I needed to sort of transition out of a very dark place. Where I just was, you know, really kind of overwhelmed with the weight of what was happening in the world at large. And I said, I need to, you know, use my mental acumen for something more productive, because right now it's, you know, I'm squandering it. Like I'm just literally lying in bed at 3 a.m. like reading like the COVID numbers and, you know, and trying to, you know, understand like what is happening in the world.
Right.
And so I, you know, have always, as you mentioned earlier, been really obsessed with music and, you know, fascinated by sort of the chronological timeline and by how things intersect and influencers and, you know, sort of understanding where things fit in this puzzle.
Yeah.
And I said, wouldn't it be interesting if I sort of explored that? And I really just started writing. And what was born out of that was this exploration of microgenre, right? Yeah. And again, it's really hard to sort of define these. And it's one of those things that is constantly evolving, and it's also extremely subjective.
Right.
But I like that subjectivity because that means it's my lens. This is what I think microgenre is. And again, I wasn't trying to position myself as a music authority, but I felt like, okay, if we're coming out of COVID and potentially not going to work as DJs ever again, I don't know. Like, we'll see what happens. I should, you know, I spent all this time amassing this knowledge. Like, I should sort of package it and present it in a way that I could share with people as opposed to just being like, hey, nice to meet you. My name's Daisy. I know lots about music. I was like, here's like sort of receipts. And so,
yeah. I mean, this could be a show on Apple Music or something, like.
Maybe I'll send it to them. I don't know. It started as this thing and then it sort of.
You've never pitched it to anybody, that
No.
site? Oh my God. It's really good. You should.
It was like a thing that I did, and I brought some friends in to help me at some point because I felt like it kind of grew beyond like the initial thing was I was writing. I mean, I did it all. Like I had a green screen in my house for those Twitches I never actually executed. And I had like, I just kind of recorded it. And then I said, oh, it's cool if I sort of dress period because then there can also be this sort of, historical hair and makeup, and that stuff interests me as well. I love the fashion. I love looking at everything contextually. I love putting it all together. And then it really was kind of arbitrary. I did like No Wave, I did Manchester, I did Japanese City Pop, I did The Birth of Rock and Roll, where I, credit Rosetta Tharpe as being the founder of rock and roll.
That was cool.
And I did, my big one, and I did Japanese City Pop, and my big one was Tropicalia, where I really...
that was the 12-minute one.
I think I clocked in 10 minutes, but it was kind of one of those things where every single thing you see, and it is very overwhelming and probably overstimulating for most people. It is just full of I ripped everything. I, took every song. I did all the music edits. I got every photo. Everything is completely stolen. Like I could never post this. I would be taken down in a second because I just took whatever I wanted and it became this sort of fantasy project where I was like, if I could do anything, what would I do?
That's what documentaries are. And then they go and license the stuff and all that, I'm sure.
Yeah. I mean, and I also, and I also can't take credit. Like I didn't do the research. I read all these articles and I read all these, I had so much access because I had the entire internet. So when I was doing Tropicalia, I like read books on the subject. I just spent, like a month like learning everything I could about Tropicalia. And then I sort of like, just put it all together and tried to make it, it was limited as far as time, but like comprehensive. So people understood sort of what the genre was, what it's born out of. And then, sort of I think that in particular to me felt like a very specific sort of time period because it really was just a year where, it sort of started and burned brightly and then was suppressed by the military regime. So it's, had this very sort of limited time frame where I was like, okay, well, I can tell this story concisely.
So interesting. And then to have the playlist as a companion to go along with it was really cool because then I can go through it after. And I even found, I was like, what is, like one of the songs on that Brazilian playlist, I'm like, I know this. And then I figured out it was like an A-Marie song or something that she had sampled.
Yeah. I mean, I felt like the playlists were probably one of the most essential parts because it's, when people are learning about music, I think hearing the music is, for me personally, like we talk a lot about how we discover music, right? Like we were talking earlier, and obviously this can tie into our sponsor.
Beatsource. Log on now for your free trial.
And you have playlists and you have, people who are sort of the gatekeepers for new music and curate it. And, back before the internet, that was people who worked at record stores. Yeah. There'd be this sort of very limited, there'd be like the labels, there'd be the bands that would get signed, and then they'd be sort of, into the sort of places that people purchase music, and there was MTV, and there was, and you would have access to music. And right now you have access to everything.
Right.
Like everything is out there, but we've lost some of that curation.
Yeah.
And we've lost some of the gatekeeping. So, in one way it's really cool because you can hear something and be like, I love it, but you have no context.
Yeah.
You don't know if this song came out, like you said, in 2022 or 1983.
Yeah.
And maybe you wouldn't unless somebody shares, a little more information. So I think it's interesting to, I think it's interesting that we no longer have that, but I do think I feel it's lost. Like, I think it's really valuable for us to understand sort of where music fits in this timeline as well.
Yeah, and it does help to have people you trust within those worlds, and really not to be completely self-promo Beatsource, but I do think that that's something cool that Beatsource does, that DJ City's done as a record pool, but now that they've advanced into being, Beatsource and they're an actual DSP and stream and, pay the artists and all that stuff, they have people that are experts in the genres. And so like Afrobeats is a genre I absolutely love. I love DJing. I love listening to, but I'm not as good at doing the research and all the different things. I'm still learning. And, the people they have, DJing, and the people they have making the playlists are incredible, and that's all they do. So it's nice. It's like going to the record store and going shopping, but keeping my eye on the person at the front and seeing what they're listening to and what they're stacking away. That was my way of doing. So now I can go to these playlists and see, okay, they're doing that. And I'll pick the 20% or 50% that I like out of the playlist and then make my own thing. And because everyone's unique how they hear things and how they want to present it.
I couldn't agree with you more. I rely heavily on the experts.
Yeah.
Because there's genres. Obviously, there are things that, I gravitate towards just in personal taste. And we all have that. And that's part of the reason that we work is because you have to have a foundation that you build off, and we're all unique in that foundation.
Yes.
As far as our, musical taste. But I rely so heavily on people who, particularly, like, for instance, this set I'm playing next week, like the pop space. Yeah. Like, I'm going to go look at the charts. I'm going to look at what other DJs are downloading.
Right.
I'm going to, look at who's playing what where. I'm going to watch stories and be like, oh, I saw Spider was playing in Vegas. And this was this big moment. He played the song, because it's really essential that we, lean on each other, because it's not a, DJing is not a solo sport. That's the other thing with Twitch, where I felt very much like a solo sport. DJing is reciprocal. You're there and you have a crowd, and it's, this sort of give and take, and and so to sort of receive the information from them in the moment about what they're like and, adapt accordingly, I think is really essential. But like prior to that, walking into the room with, your arsenal of, having the ability now to be part of a community that can sort of help shape and guide you. It's not going to help you in the moment, because if you're, not playing well, it'll fall flat. But, you definitely need to have that sort of pool to pull from.
Yeah.
So.
No, I love listening to other DJs. I know sometimes people are like, oh, you got to have your own thing, but even
you will have your own thing.
I went to Vegas a night
You're not
early.
going to show up and play exactly the same thing you play. Even if we could have the same 5 songs and our sets would be completely different.
Yeah.
Like, there's just no universe that 2 people are going to play exactly the same set. It just
I agree. That's why I'm happy to share my mixes, share playlists, share music with people, and and that's even what I was telling someone a couple days ago. The same person, was helping with the negotiation. Like, you're one of a kind. You have to realize that going into this, no matter what, like all of you are, as much as you think, oh, I can do what they do, we're all one of a kind in certain ways, and you're going to, that's going to come out in your DJ sets. You just have to trust yourself, and then keep pushing with it. Yeah. And that's why you get hired for so many events, because you're one of a kind. Like, I was looking through, we can't even list all the events that you've done for people because we would be here all day. But like we mentioned, like you do stuff for HBO and Netflix and Disney and fashion things, LACMA, Louboutin, Vanity Fair. I was trying to write stuff down, even though I know a lot of your stuff. Dolce & Gabbana. You do so many high-end events. And I noticed that, I think a lot of our events got kind of knocked down and killed in January, but it seems like February's been coming back, and you seem like you've been working.
Super Bowl weekend, I played 3 sets. Last weekend, I played 6.
Amazing.
6
I love
sets.
to hear
I didn't
that.
mean to play 6 sets.
And that's in LA, right?
I said in LA. I said yes to
great.
everything, thinking, because I came off this month where I didn't work in January. I don't think any of us did. I played New Year's Eve. I did Soho Warehouse with the Misshapes.
Oh, cool.
Some of the Drag Race people. It was a fun party.
Nice.
And then in January, it was like,
yeah,
I just watched everything. I watched everything cancel. I was like, ready for the Golden Globes, canceled. Grammys, canceled. Sundance, canceled. And so I was feeling very, I understood, because it's this, COVID stuff is secular, and like we have been on this cycle now a few times, and there's
it was easier to handle for sure. I was like, really canceled?
Well, I had it. Right. I didn't have it. And then you had it too, and I got it in December. The week I got it, I played New York, I played Mexico City. I was like around, and my phone kept going off with those alerts, like the close contact alerts, where it's like someone you were close to is that's a positive, like over and over again. And I remember I did my last gig, which was actually Sinespia, Eyes Wide Shut, and I woke up the next day. It was the Sunday before Christmas, and I was like, I'm not feeling so hot. And I went and got tested, and it came back positive. And I was like, oh my God. And I felt like, as far as risk, like my job, like it was shocking to me that I didn't. And I was pretty safe.
Yeah.
And I triple boosted, triple vaxxed.
Yeah,
and
me
I did
too,
all the
but-
things I was supposed to do, but still just like, as far as a numbers game, as far as like proximity to people, I mean, I went to Brazil, I went to all these places, and I was like on all these flights and doing all this stuff. And finally it was the Omicron strain that just, I mean, it obliterated
December
New
to
York.
January was like everybody got it.
Everybody I knew. I had it, and I remember I shared about it because a lot of people weren't sharing about it, and I knew because there were people in my community and friends, and I was like, maybe if you guys had been more vocal about sharing about it, I would have been more cautious. And I felt,
what could you do? You knew what was happening.
Like, I don't know. And so I was like, I'm going to post about it. And as soon as I posted about it, I was just inundated with, I have it.
Yeah.
And I was like, oh, okay, cool. Like all of us. Yeah. And
it was just
it was like
time.
the COVID club.
But it kind of feels good. Like I said, I'm going to go out tonight, and I feel like a little bit
safe.
Yeah, like invincible, like I'm in a video game and I got some special power for like a few weeks or something. Yeah. But I mean, that's the nice thing. And I feel like now LA is like opening back up and no masks in certain places, and we're able to like.
Is today the day?
Today's the day.
So does that mean we don't
see
have to
people
wear
at
masks?
the gym? I mean, yeah, like, I was at my kid's school this morning, and they were like, there's so many people packed in that they wanted us to wear it outside, but they don't need to wear them outside at school, at least. He's still supposed to wear it inside, but I guess, I don't know. But he's vaccinated, and like, I think if you are now in LA, you take it off. But it feels like Super Bowl weekend, nobody was wearing a mask or even talking about it or caring, and it felt like it was over. And I feel like that was the launch back into life that we all kind of needed in LA.
I mean, events. I feel like desperate for it. I always, I want to be safe and I want to be smart.
Yeah, I want to model
good behavior.
I still want to be safe.
But at the same time, I am so desperate for some normalcy. Like, I just wanted to feel, I wanted to feel like, I know it's never going to be the same. The life as we know it is forever changed by this pandemic, but I just want something resembling like.
Yeah. I know. That's why tonight I'm like, fuck it. I'm going to Avalon tonight for a crazy show, and then I'm going to another club.
You're going to Electric Fields?
Yeah, I'm going to go to Electric Fields, and then I was going to go to Sunset.
I'm going to go just for like a few minutes and see a couple. Well, I'm planning on it. I feel like that's here. I didn't know you were going. That's so funny.
I'm going to go.
Then I'm going to go to Grandmaster. You know that new spot? It's like right around the corner in Cahuenga.
Is that Grandmaster Recordings or something? Yes. So it's so funny. I'm trying to. I can
share that. This is secret, but I can share it because this isn't going to come out tonight.
No,
it's going to come out and then at midnight it's my birthday.
Oh, amazing! Happy birthday!
But we're not celebrating until next week. I'm doing two because I don't actually celebrate my birthday because it's kind of emotional for me. So I'm going to do two parties next week. I'm going to do Valhalla. I'm going to make like a birthday thing, and then for my sort of colorful, queer, fun community, and then we're going to do I think Desert 5 spot. Have you been there at the Tommy?
No, I saw a flyer for it. Maybe you posted it last week, and I was like, "What is this? A country bar? Or what's happening?"
I mean, I play rock and roll. I play like 4 country songs, but I play rock and roll. But it's like Americana.
I would love to come check that out.
So, well, I'll invite you because I'm doing a party there on Saturday.
Okay, let me know.
And Anna Calderon's going to DJ.
Okay.
And Mark and Wade. Do you know Wade Crescent? He books it.
Maybe
he's going to play.
Okay.
And they have a great band. It does like Tom Petty covers. Like, it's actually really fun.
Oh, I want to come.
Super fun.
It's in Hollywood somewhere.
Yeah, it feels very different. Like if you from the places you play and go,
right?
It's gonna feel.
Well, that's what I need. That's why I met the guy that throws Electric Fields.
Jeremy.
Last week, Jeremy. Yeah. And I was like, "Yo, I just found out about your party. It looks so dope. It's like my dream kind of party to DJ." And then I talked to Mike B, and he's like, "Yo, I'm playing at."
Is he doing tonight?
Yeah, they don't announce who's doing it.
No, I know they don't care, but they're like they never say who the DJs are.
Yeah,
and they also haven't hired me, and I'm like, oh my god, I literally. I mean,
well, it'll be good. We'll go tonight. Maybe we'll go DJ it.
I haven't been angling that hard, but I like kind of was like, here's 75 flyers with all the bands from that era with my name on them. Like, here's me on tour with Cut Copy. Here's me on tour with the Presets. Here's me opening for Hercules and Love Affair. Here's my Lady Hawk remix that was #1 on Hype Machine. Like, I was like, I literally was like,
have you been to the party? I haven't gone yet.
It's my first one.
Me too.
It's
so
the
there
anniversary.
You go.
It's the first one. I'm excited though. I think.
Yeah, me too. Perfect. So I'll see you tonight then. I was gonna do that and then go. I think by Zen's thing. Sunset. Sunset.
Oh, he's at the Edition.
He's reopening tonight.
I love that room with the disco balls.
Yeah,
that was
so
one of the last residencies I had before COVID.
Me too.
We were doing down in the basement
right before. So that's why I feel like it feels nice to just be able to go back out and not feel so like, oh God, am I going to get COVID and give it to my kids? You know, we're parents. Like for everyone listening, like we both have young children in our house, and my goal was to not give it to my kid or my parents or my wife, and then I did not give it to my parents, but obviously I got it, and then 2 days later my kid had it, and then my wife. And
I kind of have a horror story. This is not DJ related. You're probably going to cut it out, but I'm going to share it anyway.
No,
where so I got it like the Sunday before Christmas.
Yeah.
And then
that sucks.
I was away from my children.
Yeah,
for Christmas.
Oh,
so I was in
worst.
home. It was rain. Do you remember that week? It was like pouring rain.
Yes.
So I was like at home. I got very sick. And I was kind of scared because I just had pneumonia like a month before. So I actually got really sick. And I was like alone, watching the rain, crying away from my family.
Oh, that's depressing.
And then they tested and they didn't have it. And so they were like, hey, we don't have it. And then Christmas Eve, a family member gave it to everybody.
No.
So my kids got it from a family member, and then they came home. And then so we were quarantined for, and the other thing that happened that was sort of this really sort of like, you know, incredibly ironic and like bitterly ironic moment was that on day 9 of my quarantine, they lowered the time to 5 days. So if it had been 5 days at 5 days for me, I would have spent Christmas with my family, and they wouldn't have gotten COVID because they would have come home.
Right.
And so I was like, but on day 9 of 10, they were like, just kidding, you only need 5 days. Isolation.
I know, but it was so confusing,
like,
the amount of videos and things I watched. I'm like, is it 5 days or 10 days? Like, I don't know. I tested positive for like 2 weeks.
I didn't test. I was told that you wouldn't. I've tested now and I've tested negative, but I was
I
told
had so many different told things too. Like people are like, what do you mean you don't test? I'm like, that's why everyone has it, because of you. No, I don't know.
I tested Aruba. So I've tested negative since having COVID.
Right. I was supposed to go to like the doctor for something, and I tested negative, and then they were like, wait, but you still had it within 20 days. You can't come into the office. I was like, what is this? Shit is nuts. So, but then there's the 5 day and the 10 day and we're here. I don't know.
I know we survived it. And I do. And like you, I feel insulated.
I'm excited.
Not invincible. I'm like, I feel invincible.
But I probably wouldn't go out. I probably wouldn't go out to those 2 things tonight if I hadn't got it yet.
Avalon's going to be a shit show.
Yeah, but at this point, I'm like, okay, I got boosters and all that, and I don't know. I'll take CBD or whatever you got to do. There was like so many extra things. So, okay, where are we? We've gone off on many tangents.
Oh, I'm sorry. I know. I feel like
no, it's the best. I love it. It's like a natural conversation. So, you know, I mean, I was gonna ask you, what's the process like getting ready to DJ all those different types of events that you do? But we somewhat went into that, you know, and just went into how fun it is to dig into, you know, these things and get ready for all that kind of stuff. So I guess, you know, one level beyond that, a couple questions are like, do you ever record your sets, which you said you did the David Byrne one? Do you record them like regularly?
I record my sets all the time. Yeah.
Okay, me
and
too.
So I have all these like 4-hour mixes, and
me
I record
too.
them.
Do you put any out ever?
I do. I put mixes out all the time. I DJ'd for Sinespi. I did Drop Dead Gorgeous last Friday,
need to come to one of those when you're doing it.
Yeah.
My God.
I did it, and I did the mix.
I would love to do that kind of shit. Like just I did like a Stranger Things thing, and it was so much fun to like I recorded my whole set, and I did something for Glow, that show.
It's so funny. I was going to say I did Stranger Things and Glow too. I feel like you and I do a lot of the same jobs. I feel like they, totally. You know, which we're very lucky, not good. I feel like lucky. You, me, and Miles are sort of these 3 people that
I'm so grateful that they trust me to do that. You know what I mean?
I feel like we're in a box, and they like shake up the box, and like, who are you going to pull out for this one? Right. Like, I feel like it's so arbitrary, but like really we do the same jobs all the time, which is funny.
But it's so fun. And I never get to go to things on the weekend because I was always working, or then I was like freaked out about COVID or whatever it was. So now I'm like, I'm ready to go out. And plus I'm not booked as much, you know, at this point, or they're weekdays, or it's just weird. So that's why I'm like, let's go. Friday night, I'm off. I'm going out. And so, next time you're doing that, let me know.
I do record my sets, and I do put them up, and I do have a Mixcloud, and you're welcome to.
So we can hear some of those.
Sure. I feel like the people listening to this podcast are probably going to be curious about whether I'm competent or not, because I feel like that's a big thing where DJs who sort of have careers like I have, where they work a lot.
Right.
You know,
I mean, at the end of the day, it doesn't matter.
You're going to have a critical eye when you listen to
I got people commenting last night to me, like, you know, you please stop, you suck. You know what I mean? It's like, all right, whatever. Like, you don't know what the hell, who they are. It doesn't matter. Like,
I will say this. So my favorite DJs, and I wouldn't put myself in this category. I take it way too seriously. But my favorite DJs are more often than not the least technical.
okay. So like who? Any examples?
I don't want to say who they are because then I'm calling them out for being the least technical. But
well,
I will say
no. I mean,
no. I will say this: the people who play with instinct,
right.
who will slam songs into each other, who will just all of a sudden be like, I want to do this, I want to do that. For me, like sort of in an emotional way, like I'm very receptive to that, and I usually have the most fun in those nights.
Right.
DJs who are the most technical, so the turntablists, the other end of the spectrum. I'm not saying they're not incredible, but oftentimes there'll be somebody playing, and again, I'm not going to call them out, but I think we know who I'm talking about. There's a few of them where they'll be so impressive in terms of their capacity to play with music and put it together and do interesting things and just have it be like this sort of technical experience. But very often they're playing for the 6 guys standing behind them whose jaws are on the fucking floor.
Oh my God.
And then I feel like people who kind of occupy that middle space, I would put you there. I think you're capable of being the more technical DJ, but I think you also respect that in a room, you're playing for the room and you're not playing for the 6 guys behind you. Where it's like, you want your mixes to be solid. You don't want to embarrass yourself. But at the same time, if things need to change, you change. You're not coming in with a game plan. It's not like the whatever DJ battle world championship thing.
Right.
Like it's a dance floor, and a dance floor is an amorphous thing that moves and changes and shifts. And, and so often my sets, I'm somewhere in the middle, but I probably skew more the less technical side. Although, if I train wreck, I will cry. Like I care so much about precision. But at the same time, I feel like there's this thing where you can where I like to mix it up and change it, and it becomes a very sort of eclectic thing always.
Yes.
So that's why I don't put my mixes out, because I think you don't know what it feels like in the room. But I do put my Synestria mixes out. I do put those because those are more thoughtful and those are more curated and those are more and I feel like I don't, I play hip hop 80% of the time. Yeah. I play classic hip hop, I play 90s hip hop, I play early 2000s hip hop all the time. Like that's my bread and butter. And I've never put a hip hop mix out.
Right.
Like obviously I'm capable of playing a hip hop set because I get hired to do it all the time.
Yeah.
But I've never put a hip hop mix out, and I feel like maybe I should just one day record one. And part of the reason I haven't is because when I record my sets live, it goes in all these weird.
You can take a snippet of it, but same thing. I've even debated listening back because it doesn't carry over the energy or what was happening.
Or someone's talking to you and the song plays for 4 minutes because you're having a conversation.
Exactly.
Are you whatever?
I was thinking I was going to put out this mix and then do a voiceover on the mix and be like, just so you know, someone was talking to me for 4.5 minutes at this part. That is why I restarted the song, and then just leave the mix, let it go for 20 minutes. Okay, at this part, the power went out, and I turned back on, and the event planner needed to hear a song by her nephew. So don't think that's why I'm playing this weird Katy Perry remix. Because I was like, no one's going to understand this, so I don't want to put this mix out. But I'm like, what if you do and this was the moment I realized everything was going bad. Or it's
true.
Hugh Jackman was dancing on the table and fell off. And it's like, you don't know what's happening. So, I've literally been at gigs where they were like, Adam Levine has a headache. And I was like, what am I supposed to go get Advil? Am I? And they were like, no, we just need you to know that. And I'm like, all right, I'm going to play not headache music. Why doesn't he leave?
No, they'll come up and they'll be like, whoever, Benedict Cumberbatch wants to hear the song. And you're like, okay, we'll play Arcade Fire now. Sure. Whatever, you know
exactly,
what I'm saying? You're just whatever you need.
So it's on the mix, you're like, okay, I just reverbed out in the middle of a song, but it's because Benedict Cumberbatch.
What's happening. And it's funny though. I think part of the reason you and I work as much as we do is because we're not precious about it and we have a sense of humor. Yeah. And I think that also when you do events like this, you are a very integral part of the night. The reason we get paid the fees that we do is because you have to have somebody capable of carrying a room. But also, it's not about you. You're not the star. And I think for a lot of DJs, and what'll happen is they'll get these opportunities, they'll show up, they'll be on stage, and they're, I'm playing in rooms, and there's Brad Pitt, and there's, Angelina Jolie, and there's all these people in these rooms that I'm in, that I'm standing in front of on a stage lit, and they're looking at me. Yeah. And I think a lot of DJs come in with that sort of energy, and they want to perform, and they want to make it about them, they want to be technical, they want to whatever, and it's really not about you. It's really kind of not that you're playing background. I don't want to belittle us that much, but most of the time that's what you're doing.
Yeah.
Most of the time you're playing quietly so people can talk, so people can network, so people can do sort of industry stuff. And then at some point, maybe you're building a dance floor, but often you're not.
Yeah.
You're at Sunset Tower. You have all those noise restrictions, right?
Yeah.
Like it really is about sort of setting a tone. And that is a very sort of nuanced space to live as a DJ because your instincts are to turn that shit up and have everyone dancing.
Right.
And so to know when not to do that or when to do that, I think is a real, sort of unique skill set and part of the reason, again, why we work as much as we do.
Yeah.
And why those sets aren't necessarily the ones that you're going to share because sometimes you are playing more of a song because if you were jumping in and out too quickly, it would be, it might sort of, be distracting for the energy of the room. You're really sort of just creating a beautiful space for people to.
Yeah. That's such good advice and good insight into it. And it's just, like get over yourself a little bit, like.
I mean, I love a dance floor. Don't misunderstand me, but I think that knowing when,
but you're right.
knowing your place.
And it is that feeling of like, okay, I'm here. They're looking at me. The event planner's looking at me. The celebrities or the super important people or the owner of the billionaire owner, or whoever it is.
Yeah.
And it's that fine line of facilitating them having the best time and playing your part on the team that the event planner put together, and your part is important, but it's not the part that you feel at the moment that your like body's like going into that mode of like, they're looking at me, I'm the star, when really it's like, no, you have to help them still be the star on the dance floor, and you're going to do a good job and you want to be noticed for your work that you've put in. But it's like that fine line.
Yeah, like if you showed up and jumped up and down and played your Vegas set, you would never work again. And I think that often they will have newer DJs come in and do just that.
Yeah.
Because they're like, here's my moment to shine. And no one's going to be like,
I never used a mic. Like you said, I didn't use a mic. I've hardly ever used a mic at any event like that. And I remember those HBO ones. Like we would do them together. The Golden Globes ones a lot of the time.
Yeah.
And then I remember I didn't do one of the years, and I saw one of the people that they had hired to do it. Guy. And there was a guy like he was doing backflips and holding things, and he was like, I was there the year before. Okay,
blue fire.
I'm wearing a tuxedo. I'm playing dope music. I'm mixing Stevie Wonder into this or that. I got every celebrity in the world having the time of their life.
Yeah.
I'm not on the mic. It's like you said. It's not about me.
I was there because I actually played with him, and I can testify that this is true. He fucking killed it. It was such a good party.
But it was not about me.
Wanted to leave. It was so good. It was so fun.
I appreciate it.
And then they hired Fire
But
Guy.
then the next year, I'm like, I'm not hired. I'm like, all right, what? I don't care. Look, I'm of the school of thought of there's enough room for everybody. I'm happy when other people get hired. Obviously, I want to do everything, and I have like an ego, and I want to be cool, do things. But really, I know it's fine. But wow, I don't know who this person was. Like, and he's doing literally, I think he was doing backflips and like doing thing, and I'm like, what are they thinking? This is nuts. And he was trying to take over the whole show, and maybe that worked. I mean, I've never been back. Maybe he's there every year.
I call him the fire guy because he had a fire thing, like like a Burning Man kind of situation where you have like a fire thing, you like
he's
blow
like the
it,
carrot
and then,
top
like, the
of
fire.
DJing.
No, like literal fire. Like he like blew
we're in a tent. Fire. That's dangerous.
I know, it's bananas.
I have too much hair for that.
Did we talk about this? I feel like we talked about it because it's funny. We gimmicks, right?
Yeah.
You could say me dressing up is a gimmick, right?
I mean, yes.
To a certain extent,
sure.
It is. You could say people like Stevie Aoki throwing cakes at the crowd and jumping around is a gimmick. Like, we all have our things, right?
Yeah.
And I don't begrudge anyone having something that distinguishes them, makes them unique. And Fire Guy is great, but he was the thing that great. Yeah, it's all relative and subjective. But the thing that I was confused about, and the messages I kept getting, and I was actually working that night. I did Netflix that night. That was the night Drake and I played together. He showed up at the Netflix party and was like, "I'm going to DJ for a bit." And I was like, "Okay." And then I DJ with Drake, which is like, I feel like a big moment as far as
that is
DJ.
really
That's
cool.
like
I saw you post a couple little things, but I'm sure way more happened.
So I heard about Fire Guy. I was getting texts about Fire Guy because people were saying like, this music
the music was horrible too.
Horrible.
I know.
They were like, I can't with the fucking music. They were like, because it was, he showed up and he played hard house or maybe like kind of EDM-y, like Vegas, but just like no vocal, kind of like weird. And everyone was like, in Hollywood, one of the things that you're playing for is a room that is a pretty diverse room.
Yes.
Right? It's diverse as far as ages. You're going to have I do a lot of Netflix stuff, and there'll be the Stranger Things kids on the lower spectrum. And then there'll be, Jane Fonda.
Yeah.
Like that's a pretty big fucking spectrum of people. And the Stranger Kids things, they do like to hear the ratchet shit. And Jane Fonda likes to hear the 70s stuff. And they'll all dance. And you kind of really have to be able to sort of maneuver between all those worlds.
Totally.
Like a wedding, right? Like if you have a wedding, you're playing for a pretty diverse group.
Yeah.
But I will tell you, the one thing people don't want to hear is like really aggressive EDM. Like there's maybe 4 people in the room that would enjoy that. Like I feel like people like accessible music, they recognize, they want to hear it sort of, they want to sing the choruses, they want to dance. And, you can kind of bridge that gap and straddle between doing, the stuff that the younger kids are going to like and the stuff that the older people are going to like, and maybe move out and have kind of mini sets or, be real eclectic if you're feeling adventurous and go like bananas. But, but I remember like I just got so many messages about his music. And I was like, that's
so funny.
I mean, it's, because that's something you have to consider who you're playing for. Because it's not a performative thing. It's not like you're, just you doing this incredible show, which I'm sure was awesome.
Yeah.
He literally did backflips. Like it was
crazy.
And
then how, for all of these completely different types of sets, how do you have any method to your organization of your music? That is a question I have for a lot of DJs.
Sure. I think that's a great question. And I think, every DJ is probably unique.
Yeah, for sure.
I am, in case you can't tell from our many years of friendship, extremely organized and analytical. That was my guess. I have innumerable playlists. Like I have playlists where I have, my 90s folder, for instance. I have it broken down by year. I have it broken down
each year in the 90s?
Yeah, so each year in the 90s. So if I do something like I did a 90s roller rink was my first post-vax gigs.
Right.
For a TV show. And they were like, the show takes place in 95. And I was like, no problem. Here's my 95 folder. I also break it down. So if I'm doing Stranger Things, for instance, I have the charts, the radio charts, but I also look at like the college charts, the indie stuff. So, like the Smiths, if we're talking about 1984, are the band I would be listening to, but they're not going to be the ones that are on the radio charts. So like I like to break it down even further by having sort of the stuff that is like universally, like you're going to hear the Phil Collins, you're going to hear stuff that everyone knows, and then I like to kind of infuse it with the stuff that is my personal taste, which is I always skew left of center, like I just do.
Of course.
So that's how I organize it, and then I crate almost every set all the time. Like I just have, it's
like
actually
the history you'll take.
I go into the history and I look at the date.
I do too.
And I create, so for instance, even I played Soho Warehouse last weekend on, Sunday afternoon, and I played, it's funny, I played like a lot of long songs because I had friends there and I was talking like a lot of sort of 8-minute disco, kind of rare disco, a lot of world disco. And I was like, I really like the set. And I created it. And now I have this folder that has these like longer disco songs. And I don't know if that's going to be useful to me at any point, but I'm glad I did that because now I can reference back to it. And then I have a folder where this is actually, I call the folder cocktail. So it's a, subfolder in the cocktail folder where, it's got the stuff that is, if I'm in, next to a pool or there is some sort of reception at some, house in Beverly Hills, I have this cocktail folder that I can sort of reference. So I do that frequently. But I do think that it's gotten to the point now where it's so dense. And there's so much stuff, and I will open, that there have been moments where I've lost stuff. So, for instance, I'm playing Desert 5 Spot, right? I played it a couple weeks ago, and that's rock and roll. And I can't remember last time I did a rock set. Like true, like no remixes, no edits. I mean, I'm not gonna lie, I did put some quick hits with the intros and outros, but I made sure that every single one of them, even though they're quantized, didn't sound quantized.
Yeah,
they sounded like, it's not like a redrum, which are, there's some amazing ones in DJ City, like incredible ones. But I was like, okay, this sounds live enough that no one's going to think that I'm like, playing a remix, because it is not a remix crowd.
Right.
At all. So, you know, like and then I kind of redid a whole folder specifically for this gig because I was like, I gotta, you know, pull that. And I actually went back pre-record pool days because I was like, I need to pull, like I used to do a residency at Harvard Stone for like 3 years where I played every Saturday night and I did like rock and roll, mod, you know, 50s, even rockabilly.
I did a Motown night there.
Yeah,
just all Motown.
Tons of soul, tons of like, you know, up into kind of the 80s stuff, but that was as far as it went. Maybe like some stuff like The Strokes or Jet or Kings of Leon or whatever. But I was like, I had to pull it all together. And I was like, I need to remember how to mix these songs.
Right.
And like not overmix them, because even if you overmix them, it sounds like you're doing a remix, because effectively you are. You're like looping something, you're remixing it.
Right.
And it was interesting. It was like it was a lesson in, you know,
no,
humility.
It's good to be so organized, but it can lead somewhat to like paralyzation on the spot if you're looking for the thing, or they're too subbed out for me, you know, the crates, then I'll be like, oh God, I just wish, Serato, please, I could search the crates. If I could search my crates, I feel like I could work faster, because like you said, I've made crates all the way back to 2005 that are like rock and roll, and it was like when I was just burning CDs and recording vinyl, and I can't find those anymore. You know, like I don't know where they are inside my stuff. And I would be able to go, oh, Motown crate, you know, and have it pop up instead of just searching the songs. But that's interesting. The way you do it, you know, it sounds good. I've never done every year like that. That sounds crazy.
I'm like, of all the nerds, you know, I might be like one of the nerdiest.
Top nerd.
I know. I don't know how I present to the world, but literally I am like, I feel very, you know, I have no shame around how much I love
should
to
not
like
have any shame.
Learn. But yeah, I feel like music is so interesting to me.
Yeah. And
also understanding, so I have genre crates, I have year crates, I have, you know, more general stuff like cocktail.
Vibe, cocktail.
I have hip, you know, within my hip hop crate, I'll have like, you know, obviously different types of hip hop. Like golden era hip hop.
Right.
And golden era, I distinguish, you know, again, like I think there's a very sort of, you know, there's a few years there, and then I also have the early 2000s where, you know, if you're playing a set, you're really merging those two, so they're kind of in the same crate, but they're also distinctive.
Yeah, totally.
You know,
I mean, hip hop's so hard for me to categorize, because then I'm like new, old, current, old, this old, super old, golden.
And then
era,
I always
80s,
have radio,
you know.
so like I always will do, and I usually do this once a month, where I have like basically what's on the radio. But it's not just the radio, because radio, you know, terrestrial radio doesn't exist in the same way anymore. It's like what's in the Spotify charts and what's in the DJ City charts.
And even
like
those, I feel like people get confused that just because it's a hit song, you can't necessarily play it for people to dance to.
Yeah, you're not, I mean, some people are mixing in Adele, but I mean.
Yeah. And also you don't have to. Like people are like, this song's so big, I don't want to play it. Okay, then don't. You know, if it doesn't work as a DJ, just play what you know.
Yeah.
I mean, I was noticing in Vegas, I'm trying to get all the new hip hop, and 10 years ago, hip hop was killing it way more, you know, than the newest Jack Harlow song. You know what I mean? I can just play like I'm cashing out, like 3 6 Mafia, Little John, and songs from 10, 15 years ago. In a way, we're killing it harder. So,
what do you think's happening now? I mean, I feel like, you know, if you want to talk about sort of current music in the club space, like I feel like the women are really, you know, like the Cardi and the Meg, and the, you know, for me personally, they had a moment kind of last summer, and it's still sort of reverberating.
They're playing the most fun, club friendly hip hop, I think. You know,
but also it's,
I mean, they're making
I don't know. I mean, I'm curious. That was a question.
That's, I mean, definitely a lot of Cardi and Megan, City Girls.
Oh, I love
you know,
City Girls.
That Lotto song's getting kind of big, big D energy. Yeah, I mean, you know, I think a lot of women know how to make music that is fun for other people to dance to a lot of the time, you know, and that's something I've learned through DJing as well, you know, going to events and being like, who's DJing this event? You know, like, why am I not DJing? And then I'm like, damn, everyone's having a good time. Damn, what songs is it? Oh, it's a woman DJing. Damn, she's playing all this shit either I don't know or I would never think to play, you know, and I tell some of my male friends that too. Like, it's, you know, interesting because, yeah, like we're why are you playing certain songs? You know, you have to think about that, you know, and like you said, are you trying to impress your friends behind you, or what's the purpose of why you playing that? And a lot of times I think women are able to just be like, tap into the fun part of it and just not worry about what people are going to think and just know the fun songs to play and also make, you know, in the sense of hip-hop.
I will say this, like I prefer not to generalize by gender because
I know
so
I just
often,
did.
No, it's okay. I mean, you did it in a flattering way, but so often I'm put in a category as a female DJ, and never, in fact, very rarely am I put in just like as a DJ. Usually it's quantified
for sure
by my gender.
Yes.
So maybe I have a little bit of a chip on my shoulder about that. And I'm like, why can't I just be a DJ? Like, you know,
yeah.
Like it's always like the female DJ. And they're always like, and you know, I've done it here over the course of this conversation where I've maybe intentionally talked about people like, you know, Shorty as a turntablist. There's plenty of men I could name as turntablists.
Yeah.
But I prefer to position her as a turntablist because first of all, she's fucking amazing.
Yeah.
But also she's a woman. So flip side, I think that there is a distinction, right? And I also think that women, because of our gender and because this is still, even though there are lots of women killing it right now, this is still such a male-dominated industry. In fact, they posted a clip from a podcast I did yesterday. They posted the clip yesterday, but the podcast I did like a month ago. But where we talked about the fact that, you know, when I started, there weren't women. There wasn't, you know, you talk about sort of that the path and, you know, looking at someone as a model for what you can be. And every single club DJ I knew, like I knew AM, I knew all these, it was all men. Yeah. Like I didn't know a single woman. And in fact, until me, I don't know any of the women who were doing the open format stuff.
Yeah, you're right.
Like, I mean, maybe there were some around the same time, like Rashida maybe, but again, she was sort of on the thing with Prince, and Valida came, she was doing drum and bass, but again, she came from, there were house and sort of techno and drum and bass, but like legit open format. Like I was like indie, vinyl, hip hop. Like I was like, you know, and I was like, this is what I do. And everyone's like, I kept hearing over and over, everyone would be like, I've never seen a girl DJ before. Yeah. Like over and like I heard that hundreds and hundreds of times when I started out because people had legitimately not seen a girl DJ before. So I think for women, you know, even today, there's a stigma because people will look at her and make assumptions about how she got where she was, right? Yes. Because you would never look at a man and say, I know how he got the job. You look at a man and say, is he good or not? And if he's not good, you're like, oh, maybe he's friends with someone. But like there's sort of this instantaneous stereotyping when it comes to women where, you know, you have to sort of spend a lot of time you know, pushing back on that and proving yourself and making sure that you're, you know, legitimizing your success. And so it's, you know, I don't have a chip on my shoulder. I try to be like pretty laid back about it. But sometimes, even today, I will walk into an event and I will walk in with my tech or whoever is with me. And they will walk up to him and say, hey, so you're DJing today? You know, and I'm like, you know, so it's like I feel like there's just this sort of you know, particularly with me because I also think a lot of women you know, because it's a male dominated industry will dress a certain way. Like I've always worn, you know, high heels and mini skirts and had hair and makeup on. I didn't feel like I had to dress in like a tomboy. I think you can. I think you should dress however you feel. But how I've always felt is I felt very overtly female. Yeah. And I've, you know, embraced that side of myself. I have no, you know, issues whatsoever with you know, being, you know, presenting myself in the way that I like to present myself. And I think that, you know, presenting yourself the way I present myself and throwing down a hip hop set are not mutually exclusive things. Like, and oftentimes it's sort of an anomaly because you expect a guy who looks like you don't expect a woman who, you know, looks like me. It's sort of a weird disconnect. Yeah. And so there's a critical eye, which, you know, you look at DJs, right? Like we all look at each other with a critical eye, but I feel like there's this added layer for women.
I agree.
That's all I'll say.
Yeah. No. I think it's true. I think that there was, you know, it's obviously something that will take time to change and it's
changing. It's evolving. Oh, for sure, it's evolving. I mean, like I said, I've been doing this for 15 years. Like when I started, compared to now, when I look at the number of women,
the amount of women that are now
working, and I and also the younger women who are coming up, like the Jada Boos and the Honeys and I have so much respect for anyone who does what they love. Yeah. And I think there's space for everyone, and I think people should just, you know, follow their follow their bliss. I think it's amazing.
Yeah.
And I think that the women that are coming up today have models to look at.
Yeah.
And also being an older woman in the industry, like, you know, DJing is kind of a young person's game, like being out every night. And, you know, you and I are probably pretty close in age. And I feel like there's a period in most people's life where you're like, okay, that was cool. Yeah. Now I got to get a real job.
No, none of my other friends from like, you know, my friends my age that don't DJ are like, what? You're going out? You know, I'm like, I'm going to go out Friday. I mean, I'm going to go out. I'll be tired. I'll go out tonight. You know, I was at the school assembly this morning at 8 in the morning, and then we're doing this, and then visit family, and then I'll go out tonight, and then we have a soccer tournament tomorrow, and you know, in the middle of nowhere. So yes, it's a lot.
You sort of vacillate between those worlds, and I do as well. And I also feel like I'm happy to kind of be this example for how to, you know, grow up in an industry, because there aren't that many women. I look at older than me, I don't see any, and I look forward to. And
there's not a lot of women with children.
No, being a mother as well. Being a mother as well, I think is you know, something that, you know, and I have a lot of younger women who come to me with questions about how, like Shaw, and I talked at length. Lady Shaw, who's have you had her on? She's so good.
Not yet. I want to. She actually wrote in a question about how we deal with our babysitting situations or something.
So she's someone who I talked to at length because she also, you know, wanted to be a mom, and she's out now playing Bootsy, doing all her residencies, doing her stuff. But she said, I don't understand how it works. And we talked about it. And we talked about, you know, being a working parent is challenging no matter what your business is.
Right.
Being a working parent who is a DJ is actually unique in a way because it affords you the opportunity, for me at least, to be home with my kids during the day. Right. Which I, you know, I breastfed both of them for 2 years, which again is not like this podcast, it's your dad podcast. But I'm just saying I, you know, was able to have this kind of luxury of straddling these two worlds.
Yeah.
And I fully expected my career to end. Right. Like I was like, when I decided to have children, I made the choice to be a parent. I was actually sort of at the peak of my career. I was like touring Monsters Ball Tour. I was doing all this stuff. And I said, you know what? I want to be a parent. Like, I'm not going to wait. This isn't something, there's never going to be a good time. And I made that choice. And when I made that choice, I fully expected everything to disappear. And I was like, this is great. Time to move forward. I wanted to be a young mom. And so I did that. And then, you know, shortly after I had my son, I started getting calls. When you're working, you back? And I was like, I guess I'm back. Okay. And then what happened was I upped my rate and I was more selective about work, and I started earning more money. Yeah. And working, you know, in a way that it actually forced me to sort of adapt in a way that I probably should have done when I was like earlier. Because I was always one of those people that's like, take everything, whatever they have, it's fine. Right. You know, my agents were like, no. That's not how it works. And I was like, no, it's just when I work, I'm just so happy for these opportunities. And they're like, no, you have to value yourself, and you have to, you know, so that forced me into that sort of have that business acumen that I was deficient in before. Yeah. And then, you know, but I imagine myself, like, I don't know, I'm kind of wait for the gigs to dry up. Like, they just keep coming. Like, I'm always like, it's going to end at some point. Like, then COVID happened. I was like, it's over. And then we came back from COVID. I'm busier than I've ever did. Like, I did like so many jobs last year. Right. I was like, they kept flying me to New York, and I was like, okay. Like, I was like, okay, like, this is great. And then, you know, but I see myself like 15 years from now at like 50 as like the woman with like the silver hair and the caftan, like throwing down the fucking insane sets. Like, that's, I love it. Like, I think that there is an opportunity, and you want to talk about gimmicks or kitschy or whatever. Like, I would love to see an old woman who knows how to fucking DJ. Like, why not? Right. Why don't I be that woman? I'll get there eventually. I just have to keep, you know, having birthdays.
Well, right? We'll start with tomorrow.
And then, you know, and then the 22-year-olds who are starting out and, you know, at the club with all their friends are going to have some model for, you know, that could be me. Why not?
Right. Like, I know that's the thing. When we were coming up, it was like, can you imagine that DJ's 40? You know, now it's like, okay, we're all 40, people turning 50. You know, it's like, okay, I guess it's happening. Like, we're growing up into that world and almost blazing the trail of this event DJ or type of DJ that didn't exist before and continues to grow older with the industries and the event planners.
I mean, I want to be DJ Harvey. I want to be DJ
incredible,
Harvey or Questlove. Like, I want to, my goal, like, when people are like, what kind of DJ do you I want to be a DJ who is respected enough that I can walk into any room and play whatever the fuck I want, and you're going to trust me. Yeah. You're just going to trust me. You're just going to trust that I got it. and you know
Right.
who I am, and and that's sort of, I think that's a lofty goal. Because those two examples are examples for reasons. There's a lot of things that sort of fed into their
right.
legacy, but I also think that there is some place in the world for people who have been doing it a really long time.
Yeah.
And relevancy is intrinsically linked to youth in our industry, and you want like the young hot DJ with all the cool friends and all the models hanging around, whatever, the whole thing. But people who've been doing it a long time, like with any sort of anything, you're getting experience, you're getting practice. The more rooms you play in, the better you get, the more qualified you are.
Yeah.
And so it's like such an interesting dichotomy between this relevancy thing, and sort of talent is universal, but the relevancy and experience.
Yep.
Where
it's true.
I think it's interesting.
Yeah, no, I know, and different people will have different perspective, and the booking person if they're young or not, But I think experience, being old sometimes can be looked at as bad, but being experienced can be good, and then being young can have that. Oh, they got their finger on the pulse, but they don't have the experience.
The younger person who plays So it also, many gigs, it doesn't matter. Like we talked about fashion before, right? When I was like 20, I did all the fashion parties, right? And I was learning in public. I think, there's a lot of people who spend hours and hours practicing in their bedrooms before they go into a room, but still, no matter how much you practiced, you're learning in public.
Yeah.
Because as soon as you get in a room, it's a different experience.
Different, yeah.
So, and I remember like I'd play records, and the record would fit, but put the thing on and do the thing, and you're just kind of, you're learning in public, but everyone was like, this is amazing. And you're like, yeah, you don't, like, no one cares at parties like that.
Yes.
But in club rooms, like the first time I went into a club room where it was a dance floor, no one gives a shit what you look like. They care how you play. They care how you mix. They care that the journey you're on. It's just a very different sort of skill set. So I also think that there's, those new young hot DJs are going to do the Gucci parties and whatever, but then there's, always going to be space for people who know what they're doing.
Yeah. Yeah, and as the event planners and different people kind of grow with the industry too, we keep our relationships with them, and they know that they can call on certain people to come and just do the best job and know what's up. I
mean, there was a big migration over COVID. I feel like people moved around and switched
huge. I know.
companies, and like really interesting to see sort of where people landed.
Yeah. I know.
Because again, I use the word decimated because the entire industry was decimated.
Yeah.
Nightlife events just vanished overnight.
No, it still feels like it's coming back. Like it's in this, I don't know, weird roller coaster-y way still, Those are all good points. We discussed being a woman in the industry, and, a lot of those points. And that's something that I know you're passionate about. Obviously, people have heard you talk right now, but other things that you're part of is your company, Woman, and your initiative that I think falls under the company.
Yeah.
Correct me if I'm saying
Soteria.
I was going to say Soteria. I'm sorry.
Yeah.
Soteria. So Soteria. Can you? I know it has to do with your role in music and nightlife and safety around that, and you've done things with Coachella and other things like that. So it's, you work with a group of great people who I know all of them.
You do know all of them, yeah.
And it's very, I respect everything you guys do, and it's really cool, and it's really important, I think. And it's something that some of these things I hadn't even ever thought about until I heard you guys talk about it or post about it or say what you were doing, because I'm like, what do they mean, the safe space, or what goes on there? What would happen? So, and especially being a man that probably hasn't had to deal with that kind of stuff. So it was interesting to hear. But can you explain sort of what your company, Woman, is, what the initiatives are, and, what your goals are, and what's been done, and what's the future holds for all that?
Sure, I'd be happy to.
Yeah.
So Woman was born out of this shared desire to make nightlife, festivals, events safer and more equitable for vulnerable communities, which, women are certainly, not the only community that needs support.
Right.
There are risks with all kinds of different communities. So I want to start by, giving some clarity on that. Okay. But it was born out of our observations, working in these spaces. And, you know, I won't talk at length about this because I can really go on and on, but I think that we all understand that there are risks, right? And so we were like, what are things that we can do? We've been, you know, in these spaces, we see what's happening. I think, you know, the Me Too movement kind of happened. There was a correlation. And we said, we feel responsible as these sort of senior members of this community to take steps to protect people. And so Woman was born. And one of our, we have many initiatives, you can go to our website, but one of our more successful ones was Soteria, which was specifically focused on festivals. Soteria is actually the goddess of festival and safety.
Oh, okay.
Greek goddess. And so we partnered with Golden Voice and helped them erect their first safe space. And we did that at the last Coachella that existed.
Like 2 but
it's coming back. Yeah, it's coming back. And they created an initiative called Everyone. And we worked with them on sort of cultivating it and designing it and oh my gosh, I lost the word. Implementing it is the word I was looking for. So, you know, we spent months living in the desert. But essentially what it was is a physical space, right, where people could go and have sort of clinical help. And we acted as a bridge between security and medical and customer service, you know, for things that, you know, when stuff happens in a venue like Coachella, when there's so many people, when there's young people, when there's people imbibing, when there's, you know, risks involved and people, we were proactive in giving people resources and places they could go. And we had one of the most exciting parts of this initiative was our ambassadors that we deployed out into the field. And they basically went and were proactive and did active bystander work. And active bystander work is, you know, if you're out there and you're sort of proactively looking for things that, you know, if situations seem uncomfortable or risky, or, you know, you're looking to sort of de-escalate as needed. And oftentimes, you know, people who are tasked with protecting us, like security, can escalate.
Yes.
You know, their security doesn't typically get TAC training. That's one of our things where we're teaching them how to, you know, sort of intervene without escalating, because sometimes things, you know, can be diffused pretty easily. And so our ambassadors were equipped with tools to do that. And we did it, and it was incredible. And, you know, in terms of the numbers and you know, the statistically speaking, historically speaking, like it really had this incredible impact. And we've done it at a bunch of other festivals. Oh, cool. And I'm really excited about that work because I feel like it was one of those things where we really saw a need, and we understood that we could step in to support our community in a really positive way. And so, I'm like really excited to talk about Soteria, but you can definitely link people to it. And if anyone wants to like talk to us about our work or support us, we have a couple festivals coming up with some stuff we haven't announced. We did our first festival post-COVID, which was Desert Days, which was amazing. We worked very closely with them, and it's such a have you been to Desert Days?
No.
Such a cool festival. Wu-Tang headlined the last year we did.
Nice.
Not this one. This is really cool. But but it was like, it's like a cool festival. Yeah. It's like really cool. And it's like tiny, and you're just kind of near Idlewild. And
oh, cool. No, I got to check it out.
No, it's a good one.
That's great though. I mean, I love that, you know, you add so much to the scene through music, through DJing, through your, you know, different things that you do. If you ever put the dig thing out, but
I might, I don't know. Maybe for my birthday, I'll be like tomorrow. I'll be like,
and
here,
like
watch
you know, you compose music for things. You're a music director for things. There's so many things, but also this side.
We talked about that.
I know. Well, look, sometimes we
no, it's good. We're out of time. I don't need to talk about that.
No, we're not out. We can talk about it. But I'm all my point being is that not everything that people put into their industry has to fully benefit themselves monetarily or exposure or building themselves up for another job. It can be a change that they want to see made within the industry, and that's what you're doing with Woman and Soteria, and that's what I think it's cool. You know, it's not. I think a lot of people miss the mark, and everything's so like, oh, you like that? This is how you're going to make so much money off of it, and it's we're all stuck in that
we
zone,
all need to live, right? We all have, I have a mortgage, you have more, we have, we all need to live, and I don't want to,
no, make money. I'm always trying to help people figure out how to make money. But I just think it's commendable.
I think philanthropy, and I feel like, one of the things with DJs and one of the things that I do constantly is donate my time. I donate my time to all kinds of charitable organizations.
Yeah.
Because if somebody comes to me and they're like, oftentimes it'll be, in the context of them doing a fundraiser, right? Because a fundraiser is a great way. You get people in the room. And I'm always, if I'm available, I'm always willing to participate, because I feel like that's something that I can do that is a no-brainer, right? Like, why not? Why wouldn't I support this organization?
Yeah.
And, giving time, like working with, there's a lot of groups that I work with. I work with Art of Elysium. I work with Alliance of Moms, where we do, pregnant and parenting foster teens. And in Los Angeles, I think Wells is involved with that too. And so there's all these groups and there's all this, opportunity to be of service. And I think it's important. And I think that, when you think about our profession, people don't necessarily see that correlation, but it is a pretty, if you're able to donate time, to bring your equipment and set up a speaker and make, I play for foster youth, and those kids love it. It's amazing. You know what I'm saying? So it's
it's so cool.
And they all come with the craziest requests. I remember I did one where I didn't have clean versions of anything, and they were like, well, this community doesn't need to be clean, and and I was like,
I think they heard.
Okay. And then so I played the stuff and I was singing along, and then I remember there was sort of a religious element there, and they were just they were like, what? What is going on? Yeah. But anyway, I'm just saying you can be of service.
Yeah.
And should be of service. I want to encourage people to do that. I think it's a great way to.
Yeah. And that's something that really doesn't get talked about on this show very much. And just within DJ circles, I think it's all so money-based.
I'll put you to work. My name's Daisy O'Dell. Follow me on social media. I'm always putting stuff out where I'm like, do you have any DJs available to? I literally.
So if you're listening and you want to help out. Yeah.
How many times have I asked you to play for free? Man, so many times.
Yeah. Well, yeah. I mean, and I got to do, or the mental health things, or, anything. And
I brought you into action. So many times I've been like, come play this thing for me.
I want to do more stuff like that. You know what I mean? I that's something I think I lack sometimes. And then I also don't even know where to reach out and do. So, yeah, I'm down. Let me know.
Yeah.
But I think that that's cool. And it's something that's not highlighted in the DJ world as much. It's more just how much money they make, or what gig do they have, or, stuff like that. So, and also the collaboration factor, the fact that you're collaborating with other women, and, different genders, but your company, Woman, is 3 other women who are in the world, who are DJs and event planners, right?
Yeah. My company is we're all female identified. Part of the reason we have Woman in our name. One of the things that's interesting, and I don't know if this is true for the men as much, but, our industry is competitive. People, like you were saying before, that you walk into a gig and you're like, oh, the person got the gig.
Yeah,
it's impossible not to have a little bit of.
Some of my best friends get the same gigs, and I'm like, oh man, I'm so happy for you. I wish I was doing it. You know what I mean?
No, I mean it's because even though I believe there's enough work for everyone, there's certainly jobs that are more covetable, and we all want to play the tenant. We all want to play the tenant Coachella, But women, I think in particular, have this. We are pitted against each other, and. For a long time, I lived in LA and didn't know the other women. I knew my name. I knew Valita well. She's been a good friend for a long time. Or Rashida. We didn't really know each other. And I have to credit Michelle, you had in the show, with unifying the community. She started with the women. She said, I'm going to put everyone, we're all going to go to lunch. She put everyone in an email chain. She found all the female DJs, and she's like, let's go have lunch. And we had lunch. And I just tell you, some of the friendships that were born out of those lunches are lifelong friends. That's great. Having that, sort of the great equalizer of having a shared profession is amazing, particularly for, the women. As I said, some of us have started having families and started having, being able to sort of talk about those things. And then she expanded to the men, and I know you've been in a couple DJs Who Lunch, and just having that opportunity to kind of become a community has been incredible. Right.
Even people that I knew, but I didn't have a long conversation with until that day when we went to lunch, and then I just saw a couple of them last week, and it's I have this connection with them now, and I'm like, how you been? What happened during the pandemic? And I probably would have just seen them hey, what's up? And then walk away. But now we had lunch. We had a couple hours together. We learned about each other. I I know more about their life. I started following them on social media.
Yeah.
I see what they do and did and have been planning. So
and it's amazing.
It's cool.
Like, you know, I never would have met Dynamics or, you know, like if people
Right.
like, I just like, and you're just like, and now
we're all
like,
DJs,
so,
but in
so
different
cool. Like it's so, you know, and
worlds,
we have, and like, I can't imagine where we would have played together. We actually played together at a food drive over COVID randomly.
Cool.
He like showed up. I was like, oh, hey, what's going on?
There you go.
Yeah, but I think that DJing, you know, and I said before that it's not a solo sport, but in many respects, it's a solo sport for us as artists. Like you're not always on a lineup with 50 other DJs. In fact, that it is very rare. I'm doing one of those in a couple weeks for Visions. We're playing with Peanut Butter, like a bunch of people.
Oh, cool.
Philanthropy, East London. It's going to be groovy. But Todd Edwards, you know him, so good.
Yeah,
he's such a good lineup.
It looks cool. I saw the flyer. Cool. I would love to.
I know. I have to like share it. But anyway, so you know, sometimes it's like a bunch of DJs, but usually it's you, maybe an opener,
right?
Maybe a bigger DJ. Maybe you're opening for whoever. But like, you know, it's not usually like everybody, and we all work the same nights. So to actually have someone sort of conscientiously put us together in a room was very fucking cool.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's great. No, that night looks good. I want to.
Oh, you should come.
I want to check it out.
I don't know when
this
is going to press. I'm like promoting my like parties.
No, good. I mean that'll be. It's March 11th. Parties. I saw the flyer. March 11th.
Yeah. At Clifton's.
Clifton's
is so fun too. Like,
I don't think I've been. I gotta come.
Really, it's got like a giant tree in the middle. It's where like Bradbury wrote his books. It's so groovy.
Oh my god!
Oh,
You're telling me about all the cool things that I don't know about in my own city. Yeah,
I do lots of weird shit.
March
but you
11th.
should go.
I'm here. I'm coming back from Vegas that night.
You should go to Clifton's one day to Clifton's cafeteria. Go during the day with your kid because they have like all this. What's it called when you?
Where is it? It's in downtown.
What's that called?
What? When you stuff what? Sorry.
Dead animals.
Oh, taxidermy.
Taxidermy. They have all this like taxidermy stuff everywhere, and they have like weird shit everywhere you turn. There's like tiny little kitschy. Victoria used to do a residency there, up on the top floor in what's called the Tiki Lounge.
Yeah.
And the DJ booth is inside a boat, like an actual boat.
That's amazing.
Like it's like a boat in the middle of the room, and you like get in the boat and you like DJ.
Wow.
No, it's a wild spot.
That's
it's
crazy.
Really cool.
Okay.
You should go during the day with your family and like see it because it's like a kid place.
Oh, okay. I didn't know that.
For sure, kid place, but also nighttime for bigger kids.
I'm gonna check it out. Well, yes. I mean, we are gonna get out of here pretty soon, but there are so many things we didn't cover.
We're not gonna make it to Electric Feel. We're gonna be
we're gonna be here until the party.
I gotta go change. I'm wearing like a crazy outfit tonight. You're gonna see me, you're gonna be like, Dave.
What, you're gonna turn into MGMT 2010?
No, I'm wearing like a disco.
Outfit?
I'm wearing like a disco outfit because I'm going to Miles and Allie are doing a disco party.
Oh yeah.
I'm not gonna be dressed for Electric Feel. I'm gonna
Where's
stand
their
out.
disco? Where's the disco thing? Or secret?
Oh,
that's the Grandmaster.
But this isn't coming out today, so I can talk about it.
Yeah, it doesn't matter.
It's okay.
No, I was looking. I'm off tomorrow night, and I'm never off Saturdays. And so I told my wife, I'm like, let's like go out. Like we had COVID. Let's like go to a comedy show and go to dinner. So I'm looking up everywhere to eat, and everywhere is completely booked up. And I'm like, let's go to that horses spot at Mother Wolf.
Did you get a table at Horses?
No, it's all full. So
I wanted a table at Horses for my birthday, and I went and looked, and they were like March 27th. Yeah. I was like,
I mean, I have connections in the restaurant world, so I was like, okay, should I try to use it? But I'm like, I don't care that much.
I'm going to Gigi's tomorrow. Have you been yet?
No.
I'm in a Gigi's, but they have us on the patio, and so I was like, I have a friend who knows the owner, and I was like, can you maybe see if we could like not be outside?
After we finish, I'm gonna like try to finagle some sort of like reservation somewhere cool. But I looked up. I don't know. I lost my train of thought, but I was that I looked up the best new restaurants, and I saw the people from EP and LP opened a new place called Grandmaster Recordings, and I was like, what the hell is this? Is this a record shop? And then I looked, and it was like a 3-story thing, and had a recording studio vibe or like based on it, and I read all about it, and I was like, I need to go to this place. But it said it was a restaurant mostly, right? Is that what it is? I was confused.
Full disclosure, I've never been.
Okay, well,
so
tomorrow, let me know.
No, tonight.
Maybe I'll go tonight.
Yeah, you can come with me.
I've already overcommitted now with Zen
gonna go
at
to
Sunset.
Avalon. I'm not going to Zen's place. That's like far. I feel like Grandmaster's close to Avalon, so I might even like walk, except for...
Maybe I will go with you if that's cool, and then I'll end up at Zen's maybe, or I'll just hit him and be like, couldn't make it.
You got to go to Zen's late.
Yeah, that's my end of the night. That's kind of on the way back, and then I go to the valley from over the hill.
It's like far. I know. I played there on. I did their Super Bowl Sunday party at the Edition, and I was like, and I forgot how far it was. It's like far.
Yeah.
I play Soho House, West Hollywood.
It's West Hollywood, Beverly Hills. It's close to where we are now.
I'm like an East Side girl. So for me.
Right. I'm in the Valley now, so I'm like anywhere. it's 20 minutes,
No, it's good
LA
for me.
thing.
I do downtown a lot. And then,
Right. What, okay. So maybe I'll see you tonight at all those places. And then, people really should look you up to see how many incredible things you do and you've done, because we talked about all the gigs you do. You're one of the go-to people for all of the top events. You also are a music director, which I think some people might not even know the difference. But, you're a music director for a lot of events for...
I do. Well, I music direct award shows.
Award shows.
So...
And specific ones I've seen you do is like
I do a lot of
women
I do a lot of the
or,
women focused ones.
Yeah.
Again, Questlove gets the Oscars, but but again, the careers I aspire to. I think it's good to have
you're
goals.
on your way. Yes.
It's good to have goals.
Yeah.
But I'll music direct award shows like I did, for instance, Power of Women.
Okay, that's what it was. I saw,
from a DJ perspective, there's the DJ set. Right. You're DJing the show. You're curating the music. You're picking songs. You're, in my case, I edit music. So I do, whatever I need. Walk on, walk off. Sometimes I'll compose something if I need something that can be televised. And then I also do, part of that show is, for instance, I do Voice of God. So like I introduced Angelina Jolie.
Oh, wow.
Right.
Okay.
Or like it's sort of this trifecta of these three things which are interesting to me and fulfilling, because I really do enjoy the curation part of music.
Right.
Like I love to DJ, but I also think when you sort of get to work sort of top down and infuse an event with your personal taste and style, like it's such an incredible opportunity, and I really love music directing.
That's so cool.
It's fun.
I think that's cool for people just to know about, that. That's something you can do.
We're done.
No, we're good. You'll see. we got tricks.
I guess that's it. Show's over. Bye.
No, I think it's cool, that people know that you can go into the music direction, go into the composing, because you do that for stuff, as well as just, everything. It's like so.
I do remixes and edits, and I want to encourage your listeners who are newer DJs to diversify their portfolio. Yeah, because I think that
that's what
people
want people to realize.
People hear all the time, like DJing is enough.
Yeah,
and I don't want anyone who is doing
well,
DJ
it used
to
to
think
be
that
enough.
It's not. Well, DJing is enough.
Yeah,
but if you love music as much as you must to make a living at it, sort of learning how to apply it in different ways. I think making edits, particularly for someone like me, because I'm part of all of the DJ libraries, right? Like I get all the stuff, but the music that I play or like the music that I like there's no edits.
No,
I actually, what I should do? We should, if they listen to this, we should pitch DJ City on having me do edits for them, because I would do the songs that they're missing, because there's a deficit as far as music. Like they really hit like a lot of popular music, and I think that's great. But I also think there's a lot of indie, there's a lot of stuff that's sort of more obscure that could be really interesting. They should have me do like an obscure like edits section.
Definitely, as well as like how Beatsource has these curated playlists, and like you can like the ones that you made for your Dig project, you could transfer those over into Beatsource. And then some of those, like they have teams of editors now that are making edits of everything from Motown music to like the Jack Harlow song that just came out. So I think there's not much from our world. I talked to them about making some playlists like that, and you already have so many playlists, so I think that's a really good idea. And a lot of people ask me, like, what do you play, or what would we
Because here's the thing, there's the music that you play out, and every set needs to be infused with accessible music. And I say accessible, I am always really reticent to say popular, like pop music, because accessible music can be across any genre. It's music that, there's a familiarity to it. People, like, you have to bake that in. Yeah. Right? Like, I got in a lot of trouble early in my career because I was like too fucking cool. Like that was my big thing. Like I was like, I'm too cool to play pop music. I'm too cool to play. Yeah. And and then I realized I could make like considerably more money if I swallowed my pride and had no integrity and just did what the people wanted. And I did that. But I said, you know what, I'm going to do that, but I'm still going to retain this identity because I think it's important. And oftentimes I'll play sets and it won't work. People are like, why is she playing whatever, the Smiths or but the people who do know will know, and that's cool. And I just think that you can, that's part of your personal style is like infusing it with your own taste.
Right.
And I will say that the songs, like they're songs that I play all the time. And, prior to learning how to make edits, they were hard to mix and they, 8 minutes long. And then, so learning how to make edits for me personally allowed me to have allowed my sets to be more unique to me and my taste. Yeah. So I want to encourage every DJ to do that because that's what's going to distinguish you as well.
I agree. And also not to single out genders, like you said, with generalizing women or men. But a conversation we had on here somewhat recently, I don't even know if we talked about it on the podcast or if it was just in the other room, was that I get edit packs, from a lot of DJs. Mm-hmm. I'm pretty sure 99%, if not 100% of them are from men. Like, guys, I don't think I've ever got an edit pack from a female woman DJ.
I should send out edit packs. I have
or something like that, or like you said, making the edits for the thing.
If you go to my website, you can download. I have edits of Ladies First. I have sides of Moni. I do a lot of female focused stuff as well.
Great, that's amazing.
I made an edit of Ladies First because you didn't have one in fucking DJ City, and so I made one, and then I put it up, and I just threw it up there, and I was like, if anyone wants it, you can have it.
Like we need that. That is something that's really lacking. But
how can you not have a song like Ladies First? Like literally,
I don't know. Yeah.
Like I feel like every hip hop set should have Queen Latifah and Moni Love in it. Like it doesn't.
Right.
But it doesn't.
Well, I think technically at this point, DJ City only has certain things that they can legally have on.
I see this is the part where I'm being like negative.
No, it's not negative. I'm explaining to the people. But that Beatsource can legally have anything now because they have lawyers,
but they can't have edits.
But they can.
Or they can't have edits, but
now we can. That's the new thing.
Okay.
So there's deals that are being made and have been made that are they make edits for Beatsource. So and you can stream the edit through your DJ software. So and a lot of the things have to have come off DJ City and all the other record pools because they're illegal to have them up there. So I don't know if Ladies First falls in that category, but either way, I think it's
Well, I did a
that's
mix
missing.
That's posted on my IG, probably in what's the IGTV one? That's a long one, right? Where I did like the birth of hip hop. So I did that from 1972, and then I sort of looked at historical, and I think I played chronologically, and I think I had a lens to the women, like I always do. So Tessa set up this studio over COVID, and I went there a couple times because I was like, I should do some live stream stuff, and I recorded, this birth of hip hop video, and then this is when I was trying to figure out like how to sort of implement knowledge into my sets.
Right.
And so I recorded this. I made all the edits, recorded the set. It was like, I don't know, short, 10 minutes less. And I put all the information like on the bottom of the screen. I was like, so here's the flyer for the first, for the night that hip hop was born. Here's you know what I mean? Like, I said, I'm so nerdy. And I wanted to tell this story of kind of the birth of hip hop. But anyway, that was one of the many projects I did.
I like that.
You should watch it. It's great. I mean, now that I've said it, maybe someone will go watch it and be like, but that's the thing. Like I post stuff occasionally, but I'm not very good at,
you could sharing about
you
could do on Twitch if you ever wanted to is just show those things and then talk to the people about it. That way you don't have to broadcast and be on live, and you could just be chatting with them while they watch it with you. Just an idea.
I appreciate the
just a little idea.
You're really pushing me to broaden my.
I mean, not that you need more things to do. You seem to do quite a few things while also balancing the family life and social life and married life and all of it. So
I'm busy.
Yeah, it's a lot. All right, let's get out of here, go back to our families and get some rest before we see each other tonight at these big events. But before we get out of here, do you have any last words for the DJs listening or any advice? and as well as leaving them with like your social media and stuff, places they could find all this.
Sure. Well, first off, thank you for having me.
Yes.
I always appreciate the opportunity to talk about music and DJing, and I think that you do such an elegant job of shepherding this conversation. So
thank you.
Thanks.
Yes. Thank you.
And then I also, want to encourage anyone who's listening, particularly those starting out, to like keep at it, because sometimes, oftentimes it can be really challenging.
Yeah.
And like with any industry that's freelance, things ebb and flow. And if you love it, do it. Supplement as needed, and work hard, play hard.
Yeah.
Great. And my social media is really easy because it's Daisy Odell across all channels.
Perfect.
But I hope you'll like link it so people.
Yes.
If they listen to this, if they listen this far,
yes.
If you listen this far, send me a DM because I want to hear from you, because I
really
appreciate you listening this much.
Yes.
And then also I want to say that I'm always happy to talk to other DJs or people starting out. If you have any questions, don't hesitate. I'm not precious.
Right.
And obviously I get a lot of messages every day, and but every few weeks I'll kind of go through them and respond to people. So if I don't respond right away, know that I'm not an asshole.
Yes.
I will eventually get you, because I do try to respond to everyone who reaches out in like a sincere way with questions, because I like to connect with people, and I think that so many of us like we said earlier, are kind of isolated, and so having this community to lean on is wonderful.
Yeah.
That's it.
Amazing. All right. Well, we did it. How was it? Do you you feel good? No.
I'm going to listen back to this probably, maybe, and I'm going to feel so self-conscious.
No,
I'm going to be like, oh my God, I can't believe I said that. I didn't even know what I said. Like, I didn't know.
All right. Well, let us know what you think, everyone out there. Thank you, Daisy Odell, coming on the 20 podcast. We really appreciate you and appreciate everything you add to the DJ and music world. And thank you. And I'll see you tonight.
I'll see you tonight.
All right. Thank you, Daisy Odell, for coming on the 20 podcast. What a good time catching up with you, learning more about you, and, just hearing all the things you've been working on and just learning more about your history was so much fun. Thank you guys for listening. The Beat Sorcerers. Make sure you rate and review the podcast on Apple, and keep in touch with me at DJ Spider on Instagram. The 20 podcast is produced by Beatsource. Join us next week for more interviews as we discuss music that matters to DJs. I'm DJ Spider signing off. Peace.